gonna wait for these wild animals to come in the chat.
All right.
Oh, you could talk? Oh my gosh! The chat, the
Those
chat
are new
pros,
skills,
the,
you
the
know?
chat pros say that you can't talk. Cheers to talking. Here, bring it to her.
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Cheers to being able to talk. It's a privilege. Who's in here? Sandy Joy? Matt Benjamin? Here we go.
What do we
There's
got?
us. There's
How many-
one to know already.
How many people are watching? A whole 10 people right now?
I don't know. It's 16,
16,
20. Oh my
right
God.
on.
You
Right
doubled up. You doubled up in like half a second. What's up, Nick from Yuma? What's up, Kent Brooks? What's in the glass? I don't know. What's in the glass? What's up, Francisco? What's up, Street Baby? Justin? Tim 123 into the 4. Tim Cooper. What's up, Harley? What's up? 6-0. Oh my gosh. You're so popular. See, there's Matt Benjamin, Sandy Joy. Andy is gonna speak. Oh, these jokes just keep coming.
Never ends. Never ends.
Never
It's
ends.
the same every week, you know.
Wisco Inferno. Andy, have you thought of cuffing your jeans? Oh my gosh! I
Man,
just
the
don't want
chat's
to.
ruthless, huh?
I know.
There's just no filter. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I
I
love
just
it,
like
though.
don't want to slip and fall, and they're like, "Is that a thing?" I'm like, "No, I just don't want to slip and fall." Like they don't like you. You guys see me when I'm on tilt, like trying to like
Yeah.
figure things out. It's like they don't even know. Sleepy Twan says, "Only tuned in for the goat." 1 thumbs down. Is it my dad or your dad? 50-50. Paul says, "My
I'll take
man,
it."
Andy." Oh. Garrett Tobin. There's actually several Garretts. There's Garrett Tobin. There's another Garrett that's coming on, and there's Garrett Edelstein.
Oh,
So, I mean, I didn't know it was such a popular name. Yeah.
He probably made it popular, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guys, name your kids Garrett. What's up, Multi? What's up? Is there Melanie Hilo in there? Oh. I don't know. Alfredo M says, Andy the Goat. What's up, Medi Moy? We're going to start in a sec. 144. Oh, you're so popular. When I'm here alone, it goes negative.
I like to help out, Wayne.
What?
I'm glad I can help.
All right, we're going to shout out the Twitch, and then we're going to get started. Parkland 215, does Andy play PLO2? We'll answer that later. We have Lost Visual. What's up, Andy? You're my favorite to watch on Live at the Bike.
Oh, thank you. I like to watch myself as well, so we have that in common.
Eric Lewis says, do you still own the Eric Hicks sunglasses?
I do, actually, and yeah, I have. They're a little bit scratched up, but yeah, I'm going to have to bring them out one of these days again.
Bring him out. Bring him out.
Yeah.
Justin Casper says, who'd win a staring contest, Andy or Patrick Antonius?
Definitely me.
Come on, we got our boy.
No contest there.
What are you doing? I'm gonna time you out for even questioning. Peter Moss, Andy's Plus TV show. What's up, Patrick Curran? He's a YouTube editor, YouTube video editor. What's up, Goldo? What's up, Marco Galindo? You remember Marco? He played with you. He's the bodybuilder from New York.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
He's coming back at the end of January.
Yeah, he showed me some of his videos. It's crazy, yeah, for sure.
You want to arm wrestle him for rolls?
Absolutely not.
All right. Let's get started. This is the PokerCraft podcast on the Light of the Bike.
What's up, everybody?
I am your host, E22 Soso Wayne Chiang, and this guy needs no introduction. He's Andy. You have a nickname that is just like, what's that about?
It's kind of stuck, but to be honest, like, well, first of all, thank you, Wayne, for having me on.
Sure.
It's been super busy, and like I promised to come on.
I had to beg.
He had to, he paid me some money, but
Yeah.
I'm finally on, and yeah, like I've actually wanted to do this for a while. So thanks for having me on. But yeah,
Sure.
Regarding the name, it's funny because like obviously everybody knows like Silent Assassin. It's actually not a name that I actually enjoy like being called. Like it just kind of stuck. One of the commentators, I guess, thought it was a good fitting name in the beginning because I literally just come on the show and just not speak the entire show, and except for maybe like call her all in and like
If even then, or you just move your
yeah.
hands.
I mean, like if people know me like off the felt, I like having fun. I like to joke around. I'm not actually as serious as people think I am. The reason that that I'm kind of that way on the show and maybe just when I'm playing on the felt mostly has to do with that I came up in environments where I'm playing poker and in games where that's kind of like
Hyper
how the culture
competitive.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like players, like I'll be in games where like players will not, they'll be like, be silent for 3 hours straight where
Yeah.
there's literally nobody talking and everybody's kind of like a silent assassin. Like it's just like people are gunning for each other, but I love it because like that's like, to me, like that's poker when like it's just quiet and it's just like mental warfare. It's just like, like
Yeah.
it's kind of like chess. Like, what do you got to talk about? Like, I'm gonna take your rook if I do this. Like, you just do it. Like, I'm not gonna like tell like like. But I understand like, and when I started playing Live the Bike and
Right.
I started getting into the culture of it. The player pool is smaller. Like everybody's kind of like a family. Like, and start making some friendships and it changes. It changes obviously, but yeah, like that's kind of where the nickname came from. Is and also just like when I'm playing, it's like it's really hard for me to multitask. Like some players I know are really great at it. Like they can like be entertaining and also funny and
And,
know
like-
exactly what's going on. For
Yeah.
me, like I like the higher the stakes, like the more focused I want to be and like
Yeah.
I'm just like trying to zone in and see what's going on rather than like I feel like I'm gonna miss something. Like if I like, oh, who won that last pot? Like I'm trying to look at everything.
Right.
Like
No, it's true,
um,
and just like it's a lot of subtle differences between the stakes. Like people say on broadcast, I'm like telling jokes and stuff. You played with me, like when I'm there, I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm like you, man. I don't say
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah,
In the
exactly.
mid stakes, I've gotten better on it. On camera, definitely gotten better, depending on the context.
Mm-hmm.
But especially when it's just like competitive players, you guys know what you're there for, so you don't say much. But then some other people who you want to have a good time, then you just
For sure.
you do your thing.
For sure, yeah. And I think the more that I'm on Live the Bike and with these guys and week in and week out, we're just like trying to take each other's money, and it's just like the more camaraderie there is and that's built, and just overall like just friendship and just at the end of the day, like we're all just there, trying to have
Playing
fun,
cards,
play some
yeah.
cards, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like that's how it is. But
It's an adjustment process.
For
but, we're going to get into that topic later on, but let's start with your story and then how you got into poker.
okay, so yeah, like just growing up, like I've always loved just strategy, like I've noticed that like just the analytical part of games, especially like during my childhood, when Magic the Gathering first came out, I was very into that. I remember like it was like it was called
Revised or fourth
revised in fourth edition. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like one of the earliest editions of the game. I was just obsessed with like making like the perfect deck. Like I was literally like spreading all the cards out on my bed. I'm like, okay, we don't need this. Like we don't need 4 of these. Like because you can limit to 4, right? Like I was like, can use these. Like I was trying to just obsess with like creating the GTO deck
Right,
for Magic
right.
the Gathering. And like my like mom would come in like
are you
see
doing?
what I'm doing, like
Yeah.
not doing my homework, and she would just like scream at me. Like it's the funniest thing. But like so I was really into Magic the Gathering actually, and then
What were your decks? What were the
I
decks
love
you had?
the blue deck and the green deck. I was very conflicted. I was very conflicted. I love
Mono
both.
blue? Mono blue, mono green?
Yeah,
Okay.
just both decks, and I like both.
Okay.
But and then I fell in love with the red deck. And then I liked all of them, man. I like the black deck too. But
He's a gamer. He loves the game.
yeah,
Is
you gotta
anything.
appreciate all of them. But
Yeah.
and then so like that was a big part of my childhood, and then also like just like role playing games in general. Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah,
It's
just
being
all.
re-released in March.
Yeah, I've
right?
heard.
Yeah, it's
I've
crazy.
heard.
I was
It's
looking at the
crazy.
graphics. I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah. It's like so updated. It's cool.
Yeah, just like strategy, just like stuff where you have to figure out, you have to come up with a strategy on how you're going to optimize either your party or your deck or
Right.
for Magic Gathering. And then later on in high school, StarCraft was a huge part of my life.
You
Which
know who I was?
this guy knows. If anybody knows about StarCraft, this is the man right here.
Well, no, I was just the pioneer. The infrastructure wasn't strong enough back then, but obviously I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did all these like esports and games because like you could Google them, and like when we were growing up, we're Asian, so they're always like, finish your degree, finish your degree. I'm just like,
Yeah.
dude, nobody cares. I went to UCSD, man.
That was
That's how
hilarious,
you
by the
troll,
way. That
man.
one photo you sent me where
Oh,
you were like
I still have, yeah, it's in the back.
the
So,
StarCraft champion. You had the everything. Yeah, that was great.
so for those of you who don't know, we haven't done this yet. We're gonna do a recording, but I had a trading card for StarCraft like 20 years ago, and then like I have it in my parents' place in Northern California. But this guy, he just messages me on Instagram. He's like, "Hey, I was cleaning my place and I found these things. You want them?" Like, yeah, send them over.
Just to let you guys know, honestly, it took me like a good few seconds to figure out which one was Wayne because he just looked so different back then. Like he just.
I was a young Thundercat. Hey, we're gonna
good
call
looking.
you out with your sexy young pics too.
All right, all right, it's true. You got one on me, but hey, you were a good-looking guy back then, Wayne.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
Now I'm like,
You're all right now,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying you're a good-looking guy back then. So yeah, like StarCraft was huge for me. Like I love the part of the game that I think this is the reason why a lot of poker players actually transitioned. A lot of players like Elke, they started with StarCraft, as a team. They became pro and pro gamer, transitioned to poker because there's a lot of elements that are similar. For me, like about StarCraft, I just love that. With the recon and like scouting and figuring out what your opponent is doing and figuring out what their strategy was and trying to counter that. And I think in poker, there's so many overlaps. Like, you're trying to figure out what your opponent is thinking and how they view the game and how they're going to play certain ranges, and you kind of counter it, And in StarCraft, that's kind of was like why I fell in love with the game was that, like for example, like in StarCraft, it was all about like what tech tree you were
tree,
going.
yeah.
Like if they decided to go a certain route, you would see that and you would try to create a tech tree that countered that. And then once they saw that you were doing that, they countered that. And it was just like this leveling war where you're constantly trying to one up your opponent, but at the same time not letting them know that you know what they know, like what they're doing. And it was just this mind game. And I see a lot of parallels in poker where it's this kind of same kind of thing. Like you don't want your opponent to know what you know. And I guess that kind of translate into also the reason why I don't like to talk too much about strategy at the table because like my whole thing is like I'm not trying to let my opponent know how I think about a certain hand. Like the less they know, the better for me.
Right.
But at the same time, like I think
one of the bigger transitions that was kind of troublesome from video games to poker is when you're playing video games, there's very little bluffing. So that was actually a big transition where I'm just like, oh, this is a thing. And there's like, you practice, you screw up, and then you just get to it, and we're going to show a couple of your great bluffs.
Oh, man. I just got lucky there, I'll be honest. But, okay, so, so after StarCraft, I had this good friend of mine that I've known forever. He actually introduced me to poker. And, I started off playing just like super small home games with friends. We started to do like $5 buy-in tournaments. This is like obviously during the moneymaker boom like everybody else. And, I remember like one time just like I was like in his room, we're chilling, like playing Nintendo 64. So I just dated myself. But like, we were playing like Mario Kart and Nintendo 64 and like Sammy Farha and, Moneymaker came on, and and I just remember asking him like, "What? Like this is awesome! Like what is this?" And like, he introduced me to the game. He introduced me to some of his friends, and we started playing together. And it was like $50 prize pool, like, and we would just like battle for like the entire night playing. I just fell in love with the game, and it's like not soon after, like I would just like sneak off by myself to actually the bicycle was one of the first places I came. It was close by, and I started playing $1, $2 limit.
Oh my gosh.
Back then it was just like it was just crazy. Like I remember there was a guy upstairs, the Asian guy that would like before they had like an actual board, he would like call out all the.
Oh, that's right.
digital
Yeah,
board.
yeah, yeah. And then
he was like this Chinese
the
guy.
whiteboard.
With the accent.
Right.
It was just like it was so deafening to the ears because you'd be playing downstairs and it would be nonstop, like him calling initials.
Yeah.
And
it used to be in the corner, right? Like the no limit table used to be in the corner.
Yeah. So I started off with those small limit games and just started playing limit, like 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 6. Like
I remember at, like Bellagio when you're only grinding at the bottom end, and then it's like upstairs is the highest things. It's like higher promotion and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh, one of these days when we get there. And now you're like, oh, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I start off with limit, and then I didn't even know about no limit. Like I knew that there was like I remember the first time like I realized that you can, because all I could afford back then was like limit. I was buying it for like $100 and like I lose it, and then like work for a few weeks, get $100, come back to the bike. But like I remember the first time that I found out about no limit, I came up to the top section. They were running like a $100 buy-in, like five blind, 2 5 blinds or whatever back then, and like I just immediately was like, wait, so you can bet whatever
Anything?
amount? Like you can just like, you know, not have a hand and try to just like bluff somebody out instead of like where's limit. You're just like, you're just
The
playing your
bluffs are
hand in.
different. Like
Right.
every form of poker has bluffing, and it's just different. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm gonna announce this now. Live at the Bike is gonna have a series of hosted by me, and we're gonna do like a lot of the different games, and just have like a generic explainer of how the bluffs are different, and kind of go from there. Anyway, this
No, I
is
think it'd be a great idea. It really is different, and because I think in no limit, the power of the bluff comes from whatever bet they have to potentially face on future streets and
yeah,
the leverage that you can apply.
compounding.
Exactly,
compounding,
right. And that's actually how I
size,
fell in
yeah.
love with no limit. So I immediately transitioned to no limit after I learned that
So what
you can
year was
bet
this?
amount. Man, this is like 2000 and I was actually when I first started coming on the bike, I was like 20 years old. I remember being super nervous when I came in because I remember like the floor man coming in
Yeah.
and
Check your
we're
ID.
starting a new game, and I thought for sure he was gonna look at me and be like, "I need to see your ID. You look really young." And I remember that I was like mentally preparing myself like what my exit plan was gonna be when, because I was 20 years old. And, yeah.
I'm 29 years old.
Yeah, so this is like back in early 2000s, like 2004, 2003.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing Limit down there, and but in what it was like, thank God he never asked. We started the game, and that's how I fell in love with poker.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Um,
that's crazy. And then did you play online?
I did play some online party poker and stars and full tilt. I remember just like realizing very quickly that it was not my thing.
You would rather play live.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's just so different. I need to feel the chips. Everybody knows
It's just
yeah.
different. Yeah. I mean, like a lot of us play, a lot of different things and just kind of settle on our preferences. Like when you're playing party, like it was 15-30, like 16 tables.
Yeah.
And then I remember when No Limit came out,
Uh-huh.
it was just like I think it was like $50 buy-in or something like that.
Right.
And I had like queens, and the guy just went all in. I'm like, oh, what if you guys use the kings? I folded, he chose jacks. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, right. You just have less to go off of. Like you're literally like
Yeah.
I understand where like the game theory comes from, because when you have less information, you want to play with the strategies that is just unexploitable, where you have unknown opponents that have nothing about you as well. But in live, I just think that like you have so much more information to go
Yeah.
off of that you can use your advantage, and that's why I fell in love with live. It's different,
Yeah, so my PokerCraft with Bryce Yockey, we discussed a little bit. So like live, I feel like precision is such a big thing.
for sure.
Because online, presumably you're gonna be playing people for like a longer time, so the adjustment is more important than like the initial setting, so to say. And then
Right.
like in the live setting, yeah, precision's huge. Like I rewatched my hands with Dylan Weissman or PLO, and I laid down, it was PLO, laid down kings. It's not like that big of a lay down, but like the board was only like Jack 9, 6, 4, 3. So it's like for a normal PLO high card heavy hand selection, it doesn't really hit. And the way the hand played out, it was unlikely that he'd. I mean, kings are fine,
Yeah.
there. And then he just, the way he checked the turn, I was like, I don't like it. And then the way he bet the river, I'm like, I really don't like it. And it's probably a call in an online environment. I should probably bet the turn or,
Right.
But like it's live and just like, he's,
Yeah, for sure. Live, like you can get a better feel. I know exactly what you're talking about. Online, I feel like there's a lot of spots where you're just like, when they do that, you're just like, really?
the math. Yeah.
You're just like, well, I guess my hand's too strong. I'm just gonna put the money in
right.
and pray.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then when they show you the nuts, you just literally, I can relate to the guys that play online with the throwing their mouse and the keyboard and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It can be really frustrating because the pace is so much faster, and when you get beat, it's like like 10 hands in a row. It just seems like in succession like that, it literally wants you to destroy your mouse. You know?
So you play on Full Tilt and Stars, and you just mainly played live since then.
Yeah, like so my experience online was some with Full Tilt and Stars, and I remember precisely having issues with the banks and and having that save me because like they had this thing where like they would have holds on it.
And you
where
wouldn't
you,
let you deposit.
yes, yes, and
It's
I
hilarious.
just know like I look back on those days and I'm like, thank God like they set those things to because if they just let you transfer and there was like you didn't have to verify the bank, like I would have just lost so much money because I'm just so degenerate.
I did well in 2004, 2005 and No Limit. When,
Okay.
like I mean, I won at party, but like the side sites is when those were
Hmm.
like crazy. So like I was on Hollywood Poker, which was a skin for I don't remember the original site, but Full Contact, which was Daniel Negreanu's skin for it.
Right,
So when I played
right.
5100 with Daniel Negreanu
Oh
on
my
there.
God.
Yeah, those
Those
were
are
the
good days, the good
days.
old
Yeah.
days. Good old days.
Yeah, but so what's interesting is you're a no limit specialist, which
Hmm.
I've said to you and said on broadcast, it's super hard, it's super competitive. Back when that era came up, there was more information on limit hold'em.
Hmm.
But now there's like 15 plus years of like no limit videos, training. I just like,
Yeah.
is this like, dude, props to you for being able to hang on this long because,
I appreciate it, man.
yeah,
I'll tell you straight out. I'm not gonna lie. There's I've had my low points, and I think just like any poker player that is trying to grow and succeed, there's just it's inevitable.
yeah,
Like it's not like I'm not gonna say that the entire time I just kept going up. Like I had to find other ways to get money and get back in action quite a few times. I would say 2 to 3 times
no,
in this span of like 16, 15, 16 years. But it's been a
that's
crazy
very
journey.
low. That's still very low,
Right.
Raz.
No, I'm very fortunate, and
Yeah,
I think that honestly, it's been a very crazy journey. But every time that I come back, it's been different for me. Like you have to force
grow and
yourself.
mature. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
But you also at the same time you have when you come back, you have to realize the scene's changed a little bit every
yeah,
time. Like in today's scene, it's crazy because I see these guys that are coming up and they're just like phenomenal.
yeah,
It's crazy because for me, when I was coming up, transitioning from limit to no limit back in the day, like, a decade ago, these guys, like, we had nothing to really go off
we
of. Like,
figure out ourselves.
it was a beautiful thing because we were all trying to figure it out together at the
Yeah,
same time. Like, there was no training sites. There was, like, one book, and it was, like, basically, like, Doyle Brunson's Super System when it first came out. It was the
yeah,
first book that really gave some insight on what's the correct way to play deep stack cash game, and other than that, like all the other books were like there was Skalansky, like
yeah.
I mean, I went to Barnes and Nobles and remember just like buying all of them. I'm like, all right, like, I got to read up on all these, but a lot of them were honestly just not applicable. But I just remember like back
It's
in the
better
day, it
than
was
nothing
just
to start from. Yeah,
for sure. But like
yeah,
these books, like that's all we had, and these players when we're playing these cash games, we're all just trying to figure out together and making mistakes and just going broke and just like trying again and figuring it out. Whereas like nowadays, like I feel like
there's a lot of information now.
yeah, not to say any not to take away any credit from this younger generation that's coming in, but they do have a slight advantage since that like they're able to adapt to today's environment a little quicker because of the training sites, the videos, and things like that. Whereas like for me, like honestly, when I came up, it was just trial and error, and just constantly getting beat down and figuring out what I did wrong and just analyzing it
Yeah,
myself and figuring out on my own where now you can just watch the video and the guy's
yeah,
going to tell you where you went wrong.
yeah.
He's going to be like, next time you should have done this. The bet sizing's wrong. Like, for me, it's just like figuring it out,
Right.
and polishing and changing the game yourself. And
What's
yeah,
funny, I
so
remember in Super System, Doyle Brunson. I mean, a lot of the stuff was cleverly written, but Doyle Brunson's like, if you have a gut shot and the bet is 1/10 of the pot, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's 1 out of 11. Then
right,
when you study the math yourself, you're like, that's why he said
right,
it.
yeah,
So,
exactly. The,
um,
the theory was all there. It was just
back
it
then,
wasn't as pronounced. And
back then we had to like hand deal and just like see flops and just like twodimes.net and just like do the math yourself and just like yeah, it was definitely a time where talented people like my influence was probably Friedman.
okay,
So like I just read / watched his stuff for like a week or two and then
yeah,
I just clicked and then actually one of the breakthroughs was there was a hand with Gus Hansen and Andy Block.
okay,
So Gus Hansen raises in position with like 10 deuce of diamonds or something. Andy Block like defends in the big blind with like ace 10. And it was like Jack 10 deuce or something like that. I'm like, oh, this Gus Hansen's so lucky.
right,
But then like one day I woke up, I'm like, Gus Hansen has position. He gets to see
right,
all the cards,
right,
whereas if he c
yeah,
bets and Andy Block misses, then the hand's over.
for sure,
That was like a big breakthrough.
for sure.
And then ever since then, I kept watching Gus Hansen.
Uh-huh.
He might be outdated now, but at that time he was way ahead of the curve.
He really was, and he was actually one of my heroes as well back then. I remember just seeing him on TV and just like the out of box plays that he was doing. Nobody else was doing at the time.
Yeah,
You know.
handling out of position. It's just like when, especially in that era, people played very face up. Like if you're out of position, they have nothing. They literally check.
Yeah.
And Gus Hansen.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I didn't get to see like all the hands. But a lot
Right,
of the
right,
hands
right.
when he was playing out of position, I'm like closely paying attention to what he was doing, and I'm just like, oh. And then you start seeing on this texture, he'll like
Yes,
get that. It's like,
yes.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, for me, like that's what made me fall in love with the game was watching these guys learn the rules, like the ground rules, the fundamentals, the solid fundamentals, and then
Yeah.
breaking them, in certain spots to exploit. Like honestly, to me, like that's poker. It's not sitting behind a computer playing, an optimal strategy where I mean, I don't want to hate on that, but at the same time, like because I love live poker more, I feel like that's the core of like poker in general is like we're playing with humans, not robots. And so there's always going to be people that are going to make mistakes. We're emotional and, we get tilted. And the thing about Gus and these guys, like they were doing things that were, plays that, taking hands and doing, out of box things where, game theory won't teach you, and the reason why they're doing these things is because they knew in the long term, like, if this hand got the showdown and it won, like
Yeah.
the massive expected value, like in the future was huge, and also just their overall image. Like I think they worked a lot on that, and that's where I fell in love with the game was seeing these guys excel in these areas where they're learning the rules and just like breaking these rules,
Right.
And I try to emulate that when I first started playing No Limit Hold'em, and especially when I found games that were uncapped. That's where I just never went back to limit because I was like, okay, so I can just buy in with all this ammo, call a raise, under the gun raise with like 7-5 suited, like, and just know this guy's a big hand and try to like
Crap,
win
yeah.
by the river with some ugly hand, like, and just get this guy tilted for like eternity. Like,
Right.
for me, like, I just like wanted to like I mean, it's kind of I don't want to say bad to say, but for me, like, the rush of it was just the feeling of like stacking somebody back then that I knew that had like aces. Like, I would like just call knowing, okay, it's got a big hand. Let's make 2 pair plus and just like
Yeah.
just see the
That
guy's
was,
face.
that was
like,
that's what it was back then. But like it's hard because like there were a lot of smart people back then too, and like yeah, I mean it just and then people battled a lot more, right? Like
right, for
people
sure, for
heads
sure.
up or shorthanded or just like ego challenges.
Yeah, there was a lot more ego back then because there was no strategy, training sites released. So the game is a lot more systematic now. People know, okay, these guys are never gonna pay off. Like, they're my hourlies, whatever. Like, I'm gonna sit down and play this game. I'm at best breaking even if I'm lucky. Whereas like back then, like none of that information was readily available. So it was kind of more even playing ground, even battlefield, and I think a lot of that is lost, honestly, today.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
What happened was like we saw TV players like Antonio Spendiari, Phil Locke, Daniel Negreanu, stuff like that. They were ahead of the curve because they had experience. And one thing is like one of the big, and you must have faced this too. We watch these guys on TV, and we're like, oh, I could do that. Then the
Right.
first time you play them, you're like, oh, this isn't so easy anymore.
Maybe it's not for me.
Yeah. But yeah, and you said Sammy Farha was one of your heroes.
I
Funny
don't
story
know
with
about
this.
hero. It was more just like
Okay.
he entertained me. He
Yeah.
he had a big influence on drawing me to the game and just his whole antics and just like I just thought that watching him play really like just made me fall in love with the game because actually I have a funny story about that. So the friend that introduced me to poker, the one I was saying about earlier, where playing video games in the room, and he like asked him what this was on TV. So he invited me to this home game, with friends. It was like him and his buddies, and this guy I'd never seen before. He said his name was Sergio, and like, and he ends up being Sammy Farha's cousin actually. And I'm sitting in this game and like I'm already like in love with Sammy. I'm just like, this guy's hilarious, the whole accent, the cigar,
Yeah.
and like we were all trying to be like Sammy, like, and he's like, I'm actually his cousin, and he was legit. Like his name was Sergio Farha.
Yeah, back then people didn't troll as much.
Yeah, like his name was Sergio Farha, and he's like, yeah, like I'm actually, me and Sammy we're cousins, and we played this home game, and this, and it was just like this funnest thing, a fun experience ever for me. It just further made me fall in love with the game because here I'm sitting with the cousin of a legend that I just fell in love with the game with, and we're playing this like super cheap home game, And yeah, that's also that's what propelled me to really pursue, and just like try to learn everything I can about the game and just invest the time and the money, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So how did you move up on the stakes? Because you start on the bottom. Like a lot of us just start from the bottom, and you
Right.
could tell. There's a lot of things that you could tell about, like if somebody's playing on their own, if they're playing with, if they're being backed, they start from the bottom, because it's just like you learn so much on the way up, and
Right.
then certain situations come up, and you just like no.
No,
So,
yeah, I just jumped in. I remember playing a smaller no limit game, and then they were calling on the microphone like a 5-10, and I just like that. I just wanted to just gamble, and I just jumped in. Took the empty seat, and I was so nervous, and it was crazy because I still remember the rush of like the first time playing a large no limit game for whatever money I had at the time, like relative, and it was like a 5-10 game with a $500 max. So you can only buy it for $500, and I just had a rack of yellow chips, $5 chips,
crazy,
and yeah, one of the most memorable hands was like I remember getting it all in with a nut flush draw against a made straight, and just my heart was just pounding,
yeah,
like
no,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
just never forget that time. It's like the first date or first kiss or whatever. Like it was like my first all in, like for a lot of money, and
Yeah.
I just like you'll never forget that. It was just adrenaline was pumping, and I was like, oh my god, like all my money's in the middle, like. Like I need to hit a spade,
Right, right.
and the spade came right on the turn, and I was just like, like I was just like,
It's
like,
over. It's
yeah,
over,
like,
guys.
exactly. I was just like,
Andy's going to live with the bike on Fridays from
yeah,
now.
because it was funny because I witnessed a similar hand another time with a guy where like this guy had the nut straight, and he got it all in, and the guy had a nut flush draw, and the guy turns his hand over and goes, I got the nuts, okay, and then. The guy was on a flush draw. He turns the nut flush, and then he goes, "You had the nuts," and I just thought I was like, "That was so cool." Like,
Yeah, it's trash talking.
yeah, I was just
in the
like, I
early
just
21st
fell in
century.
love with like just the fact that like every card can just change fortunes. Like it's such a dynamic game where you just never know. It just you're always on the edge of your seat, and you're constantly figuring out like what is the best way to get my opponent to put all his money in
Yeah.
when he's just dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is really how I got started. I just fell in love and just kept pursuing, and
What are your thoughts on rounders?
it's one of my favorites. Obviously, watched that a million times and
Yeah.
never gets old.
I always try to do like the subtle references, but
Right.
it's funny because like, I mean, rounders came out in like '98, and people rip on the poker for being fake. I don't think it was like that fake. Like, there's a lot.
It was really good for its time.
Yeah, it was good
really
for its
was.
time,
Yeah.
but like, okay, so like the KGB like in Mike McDermott Kings folding thing, that was okay. That one was ridiculous, but a lot of the other ones, like, if you go back and watch them, like the hands are actually kind of a little bit normal. Like,
They really are. They really are.
there
It's
was
actually not as outrageous as
yeah. I mean, well, I'm trying to think of the hand. So one hand, Matt Damon, Mike McDermott has Jack 10 of clubs. And then you see, like, if you pay attention to the board, he flops a flush draw,
Right.
then turns a jack,
Right.
and then value bets the jack, jacks and fives, or jacks and sevens, jacks and fives on the river. And then he says, jacks up. And then KGB says, you got lucky there catching that jack on the turn, which kind of implies he had pocket tens.
Okay.
Because, like, just, we don't know, but, based on the speech play, it's just like, if Mike McDermott had the nut flush draw, and he's
Right.
bluffing, but no, he has Jack 10 of clubs, and the exact line was saying you got lucky there catching that jack on the turn,
Right,
kind of
right.
implying you can't catch a 10 or
Yeah.
or a club. Maybe he check folds. I mean, we don't know, but like that exact speech play, and we've been playing live for like quite a bit, so
For sure.
you catch these small things, and it's just a movie, but there's like some appreciation, or like the one where Mike McDermott flops a nut straight, and check call, even though there's no real draw. I guess there's pair and a straight draw, but check call, check call, check call, like that's inducing the bluff. That's actually like a thing, but it's all in that movie. But
Yeah.
people just rip on it for it being
A little bit
I don't
cheesy,
know,
and
yeah.
yeah, but you're right though. There's so much in that movie that it actually relates to the actual grind of poker.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna run the bathroom, and I'll
Yeah.
be right back. So you can keep that.
Okay, I'm
entertained.
gonna chat, ask questions, and we will ask Andy when he gets back. Nick from Yuma says he hated Molly's game. A lot of people I talked to didn't like it. Nick from Yuma, can you tell us why? Because I thought it was like decent for representing the home game scene. Maybe you guys haven't been to those CD home games. Maybe I haven't either. I thought it was pretty good with the culture and the tilt, even though like some of that stuff was over the top, especially the characters. Patrick Kern says Molly's Game is a legal thriller, not a poker movie. I think there are parts of it. I feel like it's like a coming of age story for a woman who wants to like meddle in a man's world, and the legal thriller part is one thing. The poker is a backdrop. Yeah, and the celebrity life. Anthony Yang says, "What's this?" Andy talks. Yeah. Ooh, 70 thumbs up. I'm gonna tell him when he gets back. OMC PokerCraft bigger than PewDiePie. Oh, Patrick Kern quoting Rounder is a great player. He can get a strong hand cracked and lose his mind along with every chip in front of him. Andy's coming back. He went to the bathroom. He's drinking beers and he's talking now. Time's up over. Blow. Celts want you. All these guys are like Andy speaks. You guys, I played high stakes on Live at the Bike too, and you see like when I'm playing high stakes, I don't talk either. And these guys are playing for like a lot of money. It's super competitive. When we're playing the smaller stakes, it's more talkative. It's more lax. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a different culture. What's up, Intramorph? He's back. There aren't many questions. Like they're basically saying, "Andy speaks. Andy speaks."
That's funny.
Martin St. Pierre asks, "Andy, worst tilt?"
Worst tilt, like worst tilt story.
Ooh, Taylor Carroll's in the mix. I saw Taylor Carroll outside. After this one, I'm probably gonna pre-record with Taylor. Man. We'll see. Maybe too much of a drama queen for me. I'm just kidding.
Taylor's one of those guys where he's constantly thinking about how to play a hand outside the box to get your money, which is a very good trait to have in poker.
Yeah, he's a wild thing. Like there's one hand in the ante game, like the guy at ace queen with the ace of spades and there's 3 spades on the board, and he just calls ace king no spade, like, all in. Like, and Taylor's like, I knew. I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I remember, like, actually, I still like do crazy calls, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus that I've been playing against, but like, you learn to like use those sparingly. Like when you have the read, you have the read, but like, it can more often not get you. It
can backfire sometimes. You can. It's a fine line. You can look like a donkey or a hero, right?
Yeah.
Every situation.
Okay, let's get back to your thing. You love the table talk. You love the trash talking for No Limit. Inside, he's a trash talker.
Yeah, I'm thinking it. I may not say it, but I'm thinking it. But yeah, so I can never forget that adrenaline. And so like back in like I would say 2008, I remember having my first big win. Actually, I was grinding this 5-10 game at the Gardens, and that game actually used to be a 5-10 blinds with a $5 cap. So
it's 50 big blinds.
It was very hard to build a large stack, but I was trying to figure out, how to do that. And I remember like in one session, I was hitting everything, and it was just, I had a very memorable session that really cemented me like to be like, okay, I'm gonna focus on how to do this every time, because I remember making like 15,000 that night in a 5-10 $500 cap game.
So you 20x'd it?
Yeah, it was very hard to do, and I just remember like I played for like 30 hours straight, and there's actually a funny photo. Like I had like just mountains of chips. And
your chip porn.
Yeah,
you're like 15K.
Yeah.
Now you're like, that's like one bet.
Right. Yeah, I remember just that. There's actually
oh yeah, we have that picture here. Let me.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Look at this handsome guy. Actually, in my opinion, you kind of look like the Taiwanese singer Wang Liu here.
Oh yeah, I've actually been told that. I was a little thinner back then. I've had to
just like me and my StarCraft.
But like that photo actually was back in 2008, so it was a long time ago, and I just remember just stacking all these chips high and just being like, this is the most awesome thing ever.
Towers and chips. You can't even see it.
The game was awesome. You know, the action was awesome, and
That guy kind of looks like Keith. He's not Keith, right?
that's not Keith. I wish it was. You know, we do miss Keith, and we need to bring him back.
I mean, sometimes he pops in the chat. He pops in my YouTube and live at the bike. But yeah, we'll get him back in the mix. He's married now, so it's like a different life.
That changes things.
Yeah,
a little,
yeah.
somewhat, but he's an instant legend.
Yeah, shout out to Keith. We have a buddy that said, "You don't really look like Wong Lee Home," and I was like, "Use a hater. This is Andy. He's handsome man."
I'm handsome man. So yeah, like back then, it's like the biggest thing is like when I started having these big stacks and building these big stacks, I really started like a key moment for me. Like I would say, like a milestone is like when I learned about like lag poker, playing a loose aggressive style, cracking big hands and plight odds. I fell in love with just like playing garbage hands. Like I literally would just like try to crack big hands. I identify who has a big hand and I just call it garbage to try to make a big, try to get all the chips.
Yeah.
Like this guy has aces. Let me just call with this garbage complete like BS hand. And just there was something about that just like really like turned me on.
And then how upset they get. I had aces. I'm like, I have 2 pair.
Just playing super loose and aggressive and just like bluffing and like that was like honestly a key moment coming up. And then obviously like I blew through so much money like at the same time like trying to do that and just like feeling stupid about it. But
it's a learning process.
It was like a rite of passage, for me.
One thing that is underrated with No Limit even today is that watch Live at the Bike and the experienced players who work their way up. The second the game conditions change, I just watch them change modes. I don't really. I've mentioned it several times, but I tend to not want to bring that point out. But yeah, these players are very versatile. So a lot of times when you see a single hand or you read a hand history, it doesn't even close to tell the full story. Yeah.
Right.
But keyboard warriors, they play perfect. So
right. It's always easier when when you can't see the cards and
there are several hands that of yours that I'd like, and say other players, like I asked them, I'm like, I wasn't there, you tell me, and the thing is like I've played on Live at the Bike like around 100 episodes. I know this screen doesn't show like so many things that the player can see, so I'm just like, what did you see?
Right, for sure. Yeah, that's
because like we see your accuracy and a lot of players' accuracy like very high. Like obviously we get bluffed out, or we screw up some hands, like Jackie, you and Jackie. We're gonna get to that, guys. But it's just like more often than not, I tilted him already.
No, it's funny because like I have a funny thing about it. It's like, so I went to the World Series this summer, and literally like that was like the most I've ever got. Yeah, I was like in the bathroom for the Rio. And I just like could nonstop. I had to wear a hoodie to get people to stop. Hey, you're that guy with that hand, right? You lost with the quad. I was like, that's me. So, trying to go to the bathroom, but
Yeah.
It got to a point where like I literally couldn't go anywhere to Rio without someone recognizing me in the hallway and talking about that hand, saying that was crazy. Like that was a really bad beat, man. Like what
cooler. What a cooler.
Like
it's a cooler.
Like, yeah, tell me about it.
You're in the urinal, and he's like, whoa, you're that guy. You're like, dude.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like people, like even like Weez, who they don't see very much of. He'll like go to New Orleans, go to New York, and he gets recognized.
Right.
And JJ gets recognized. I'm like, I never leave this place.
More people watch Live in the Bike than you think. It's really crazy. I was at a cafe the other day with a friend, and just like trying to catch up with an old friend. This random dude comes up to me and says, "You're Andy from Live at the Bike." I'm just trying to like have lunch.
Selfie, right?
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying. It's just it's funny,
I've told the story. I probably didn't tell you, but like I'm in a Hollywood Writer home game, and I brought them on Live at the Bike, and they're just playing $2, $3, and then the next day at Starbucks, the barista's like, "You were on Live at the Bike." It's like crazy. It's just a $2, $3 game. It's like, man, it's so insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's a small world.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any challenges coming up?
It's been a rough road. I'll be honest. Honestly, like just for the last decade and a half of playing, there's just so many downfalls in poker that people underestimate. I think like people that live in Vegas, I think feel the most have the hardest time. There's just so many vices that are there that is there to basically break you and make sure that you don't succeed, in the gambling business. Like some of the biggest leaks are just like money management, tilt management, the pits, like there's so many things you have to watch out for.
Drugs, alcohol, women.
Exactly,
Yeah.
all these things, like even like things like loaning money, like I've experienced all these things where every time you go through it, it's always hindsight is always 2020. Once
Yeah.
you don't regret it and learn from it until you've been through it. It's hard to tell a friend and warn them about it
Yeah.
until they've actually stepped through that door themselves.
Yeah, you can't transfer experience. That goes for like real life plus like, poker. Like I've had many friends and pros like warn me about certain pitfalls, and like I've been pretty careful and relatively responsible. I'm not super responsible, but like I'm definitely more on the responsible end, and I still fell into like several pitfalls. And it's normal. Like even the best of us like have hard times. And like what is interesting is like when I fell after like 11 years, like so many people, I was so embarrassed and so humiliated, and then I was like, oh, I went broke. There's like, okay,
Right.
they're like whatever.
Right.
So we've played with a lot of legends. Some of them aren't here with us today. Like Juan.
Oh man, yeah.
Actually, I was
Reminiscing
talking with
the old
Barry.
days.
I talked with Barry Greenstein about Juan like
Okay.
last week. So tell your side, and I'll interject.
Oh man, I have so many stories about just like old legends that are not here with us that
Yeah, go.
from the old days. It's crazy because I would say like so after playing grinding that game at the Gardens where just coming up there, transition to Commerce, and that's kind of like the big boys place back in the day. It was
10,
kind of
20,
like
10, 24. What
Yeah.
year was this?
like 2007 or 8. Like
There were at that time, call back 647. At that time, there were like 7, 10, 20 tables around the clock, 2, 20, 40 tables.
yes, all of them were great and just legends filled in all of them. Men
Right.
the Master, like
Yeah.
just like so like one of my biggest inspirations back in the day. I remember like just railing before I was playing. I started jumping and taking shots at the 10-20, and I would
this
look
guy.
over at the bigger games, the 20-40 and the 51, and I would see like Bobby Hoff, just
Yeah.
standing behind him, just just really a legend of the game. Just standing. I remember just standing behind him and watching him play this gigantic pot with he was throwing in just like the 5K big pink chips,
Yeah.
and just thinking to myself, one day I want to be like just like this guy. Like
Yeah.
he was just the guy I wanted to aspire to. He just came across like this cutthroat, like this like cold-blooded like killer, and I just like.
And now you're him. That's kidding. That's how you're on here.
But yeah, I just remember like one day I want to be like him, and he was playing this massive pot, and I was just like, wow, like eventually I became a regular in that game, and just battle a lot of these guys, and another guy I want to mention that really had a big impact on just everything when I was coming up, Jack Haley, obviously played for the Bulls, Chicago Bulls back in the day. He was just such it's crazy because we talk about like making poker fun again, and things like that in
different
today's
era,
world. But
yeah.
he was just so ahead of his time. Like he was doing things like pre-tipping the dealer, all the table talk. Like just it was just so fun to have him on the table, and just like the ridiculous pots that he would play. Just winning massive pots, showing bottom pair, making ridiculous hero calls. Like he made me fall in love with the game all over again, because in a sea of players that are just like battling and trying to play perfect, and here's this guy that's just like having fun
Right.
and just destroying people with his table talk and just his whole demeanor, like so he was obviously a huge influence for me as well. And then who else do I remember back then? I remember the first time I saw Freddie D at the Commerce, and I remember
Play
just
with him a lot,
thinking
yeah.
this guy is such a boss, I was just like, this guy is just, his whole demeanor, just his whole attitude was just, this guy is fucking awesome. Also,
A
like,
couple years ago at Commerce.
yeah, no, I know, I saw him again, and obviously he's toned down, but I just back in the day he was the man,
I
He
had
was the man back then.
I had a PLO pot with him. Like it was, we were playing high stakes, and then he flopped like second set, bottom set, and there was only one bet in flop turn river, and then everyone's like, "Where's the rest of the pot?"
Right.
It was pretty dry too, but it's a different era, Back
Yeah.
then we'd be like, jamming, and now it just like it's
So different
yeah,
nowadays.
it's so much more
So
passive.
different.
Yeah.
So different. Um, yeah. Yeah. Like I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Juan, he's the best.
Yeah.
But,
Honestly,
yeah, shout out
Juan
to
is
him.
just legendary.
So Juan used to be notorious, and he's not with us today now. He passed away from cancer. Barry Greenstein gave me a bit of the scoop on what happened. But back in the day when Nolan was big, he would have unlimited pink chips.
Yes.
But he also like I wasn't there for what I've told. He ran so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime he just gets it in with like fives, and he's against. He if it's a flip, he wins. If he's against kings, he flops his set. And it's
Yes.
just like,
Yes. And then the needling after he wins was just legendary. Like just the needle that was coming.
yeah,
It was all in good humor at the same time. I mean, the guy was.
nobody had anything against him.
He was
yeah.
definitely a character.
Well,
and
not nobody, but yeah, it just is. It was an era where it was more acceptable to be kind of like that. And,
Yeah, and honestly, I feel a little bit nostalgic in that because a lot, like I said, a lot of that is lost in today's world. I feel like, now that I go back to commerce, I'm like, I know what I'm getting into, and it's not going to be the same. It's basically I'm at a table full of guys that have studied game theory and watched the latest videos and are trying to play perfect on every street, and
Right.
they want to take their time and make the exact bet sizing that's going to be optimal. And I don't blame them for that. It's fine, but in the sense that I feel like what's lost is the human element of the game, which is a lot of the stuff that these old school pros injected in the game that made the game interesting and fun and just epic. Like I think that, for example, like even like Brad Booth, I played with him, and after he had all the scandals, and shout out to Brad, I feel really bad for all the scandals he went through, but he showed up one time at the Commerce, I want to say like maybe 6-7 years ago, and he sat down and he like, it was just such a moment for me because knowing like what all the stuff he went through, but he just sat there and he was still Brad Booth, He had long hair, he wore sunglasses, and he was in a disguise, But it was just the funniest thing because all I can think about is that legendary hand where he just bluffed Phil Ivey
yeah,
out.
with four
And
deuce or
right,
whatever.
right. And it just goes against all game theory and just like but it's just so awesome,
I hear he's
It's
doing
just-
okay now.
Is he?
I hear he's in NorCal and he's grinding. And like,
Okay.
that's the thing. Like where I talk with Bryce Yockey, where I talk with Sean Snyder, which is not released yet. Jay Rosenkrantz with you. It's just like you choose how you want to maneuver in this world because there's
Right.
always a higher stakes. There's always a better player, and there's a lot of options. Like you're a Nolan purist, and we're going to talk later. There's a lot of directions you could take. Like say Dan Zaki studies almost every game. And Bryce Yockey studies almost every game. Mine is a smaller pool, but I still, like whatever game we've played, we can, go back to and just like catch up a little bit and, do what we have to do. But like, there's just a lot of, and like now, my case is different because being a house player is a great gig. But if I knew about this earlier, I would have done it because it allows me to do so many other things. But it's a great gig. And I used to be like, oh, you'll never catch me 10 because like you could just stare at your hourly and it's
Right.
like your freedom. But nowadays the landscape's changed. Like the games aren't as available, the stakes aren't as high, it's more competitive, and just you evolve with
Absolutely.
real life.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like just yeah, like you said, the scene has changed so much, and I still have just the utmost respect for the guys that had to figure it out on their own. Like the reason why I named these players is because they really put in the work and have taken the beats to learn rather than just study a chart or to do what a training video site told them what's optimal to do. I think what's been lost is like players back then really had to take the beats and really find a way to analyze the hand and figure out a strategy that was going to work for them in that state in that game. Whereas like now it is a little bit robotic, and I would say the game is partially solved in that regard, but there's just something about having to figure it out on your own, and that's just not there anymore, and I truly miss that, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
mean that's why a lot of new games get invented. Like the mixed games, there's like after a couple months, there's 3 more games in there.
Yeah,
That's part of what it. It's.
I was playing this game the other day called Mango. Actually, somebody introduced it to the table, and it was like so you get 5 cards pre-flop, and you discard 1 every street, but you get to see like so you get 5 cards, pre-flop, you look at your hand, you discard one, you see the flop, and then there's a betting round, and you discard another. So by the river, you have two cards. But like when I played that game, it was so fun because I felt the same enthusiasm about the game that I did when I first started playing No Limit. It was so new to me, and it was so fresh, and I knew that nobody knew what they were doing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like none of my opponents were equally in the dark with me, and we're all trying to figure out together. And it was just like a beautiful thing, you know. And I obviously won a huge pot. I cooled the shit out of people. You know? I made a full house over
better
full
lucky
house.
than good, right?
Right, yeah. And I was like, this game is great.
Yeah.
You know?
It's great when you're winning. So yeah, the thing about Juan is, I'm gonna have Barry Greenstein on the pod, PokerCraft later, but so what happened with Juan is he wasn't feeling good, and Barry Greenstein every day told him to go to the doctor, and he wouldn't. He's like, I don't have, it's expensive. It's like, and that's a bad thing for poker players. It's like when you're like valuing like $4,000 versus going to the doctor.
Yeah.
So yeah, it like, and by the time Juan went to the doctor, he told the doctor like the timeline. He messed with the timeline, so he was prescribed with the wrong like medication, diagnosed the wrong thing, and it turned out he had cancer. And then and then Barry Greenstein's like, dude, you can't do this. But
no, I know.
Yeah,
it's really sad because I remember coming in, putting myself on the board, and he would literally be walking around in a daze and just barely even recognizing me and spitting out blood in the trash cans and just saying like coughing up like just blood and just it's really crazy because he's really a reminder of like just having balance in life and realizing that
we're all human.
Money really is nothing, because at the end of the day, like if your health is bad and you have no balance in your life, you can have all the money in the world, but you can't bring it with you when you die. So, it's one of these things where, we all love poker, we're all here together, but at the same time, like, just remember to have balance in your life and enjoy the journey along the way, because, it's really sad if your health starts to suffer and
you're not willing to take out money just to go to the doctor because it's part of your bankroll.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know he was living at the Commerce, and it's just sad because I remember when he was talking about buying his first car. Even it's just so much experiences that he missed out on because he was just so involved and so just
I mean, he lives on through our stories. Like I had a no limit hand. I don't remember the hand, but I called very light, like very, very, very light, and Juan would like needle the other guy because I was more known for playing high stakes limit at the time. But of course, like I'm just gonna play whatever game's the best. And then Juan would needle the guy. He was like, "You trying to bluff a limit player? Are you crazy?"
I can totally picture him saying that to you with that voice.
He's like, "Man, you one stupid guy."
I want to fish you are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. That's those days, man.
Yeah. Anybody else? Like, I have higher appreciation for like a lot of the TV players back then, because I used to be one of those guys who would like make fun of Phil Hellmuth and stuff like that. But like, just like my thing with Gus Hansen, I realized that playing tournaments is hard. It's really hard to be dealt the winning hand, and you gotta run really good. But what Hellmuth's stick is like, if he plays with like strangers he's never gonna meet again, he could just like agitate them and get them to like dump off their stack. And if he does that like several times during a tournament, that's where his edge in tournament comes. These guys like in the high rollers, like with the perfect play and everything, I'm just like, yeah, that's for that environment. But in these like big multi-table fields, I might take Hellmuth.
I wouldn't blame you, honestly. Yeah. He's got it down.
Yeah,
he's doing something right,
Yeah, and I didn't realize this is the comment that people said, like he's bad against good players but good against bad players. And then after a while, you watch it and you just like start thinking about like, oh. And a lot of the branding stuff he does is like, man, if you time his rants on television, they're always around 15 seconds long.
Yeah, it's a commercial.
Exactly. If you have to pay for that on national television, 30 seconds is $500,000. So that's $250K he just made by. Are you an idiot? These guys can't even spell poker.
Exactly. He's a genius.
Yeah,
he's a genius.
Shout to Helmuth.
Yeah, like speaking of just funny poker stories, there's this one time like talked about the other casino. I'm not supposed to say the comments, but anyways, this whatever. The cat's out of the bag, So it's funny because there's this one time where I just got like just completely shit faced and drunk, and obviously like I shouldn't have been like at that state. I played this guy heads up. I don't want to name names, but you know, he's
I'm right
he's a
here.
very well
Just
known
kidding.
he's a very well known PLO player now. But I just remember like this was another milestone. For example, I'm talking about milestones
I'm
and
joking, yeah.
big moments in my poker career.
Yeah.
So this was another one of them where I learned from my mistake where I just played this guy. I agreed to play this guy heads up drunk. He said, if you play, you have to take shots with me. Like literally, like a couple hours in, we were like 7 shots deep with tequila, and we're just taking Bloody Marys. And
Oh
I remember losing like over 6 figures. Like I lost like 130,000 to this guy, heads up, just like and just completely shit faced. We're just laughing our ass off, throwing in 5K chips like there was nothing. Like just it was just the most biggest shit show ever. Like we had a rail watching us. They weren't even in the game, just laughing with us. It was just the craziest heads up battle I ever played where we were literally just trying to outplay each other, like just out of ego and just fun. Like it was just we weren't even playing cards anymore.
Well,
like,
he outplayed you because he
yeah,
won.
yeah, because he can hold his liquor a little better than me and
Right.
play.
That
He
is
has
true.
some of his shit together. But I remember just like walking, like I was being escorted out by the security because like even though like they were all laughing like with us, like it was
Yeah.
hilarious. But like they're like we were asked to like you have to leave, but like they were only because like they were asked to do that, So I remember them escorting my car. Like I had no idea where my car was parked. We were walking around the entire parking lot trying to find. I was stumbling. Like it was the biggest shit show ever. They ever got me a room there, complimentary, whatever. Like I
Wow.
woke up the next
That's
day,
nice, yeah.
and I was like, I
They
just
didn't wanna
lost
lose you.
130,000. Like woke up like just hung over and just like realizing like, wow, I need to not do that. Like,
Wow. I
like
got
that was not worth it.
I got something for you. It's please gamble responsibly.
Give me that. I could use this.
Yeah.
You're a few years late, but
Well, better late than never. I tweeted something. I was like that. There's a trend of name your most controversial poker thought. I said your F game is going to jurisdict how well you do during your lifetime in poker more so than your A game.
that's very philosophical, Wayne.
You didn't read my Twitter. You don't read my Twitter.
You know what? Hey, I just created a Twitter
Yeah.
account because like so many people were like, "Hey, when I'm a little late, but hey, I'm finally on Twitter."
Oh, shout out to Taylor Carroll.
What?
He's got
Oh,
he's got his
What's
beer.
up, Taylor?
No, he's giving you the beer.
Oh, you're giving me the beer.
Are you listening
Okay.
outside? Oh, thank you.
It's
I
good.
wasn't supposed to drink, but shout out to Taylor Carroll.
Taylor, get in here.
Yeah, say hi.
Get
Say
in, get
hi.
in. Say hi at
Say
least.
hi.
Shout out to Taylor,
Shout out to Taylor.
a living legend.
Well, we're gonna get him in the podcast. Actually, we were supposed to pre-record it, but we had technical difficulties. But he's gonna get in the mix. So you totally just got in here because it's Andy's podcast, and you're just like,
He busted out the tournament, and the door's right here. So he's like, "Hey, it's on the way out." So he's like, "How do I run so bad?"
yeah.
All
All right,
Hi,
later.
Taylor.
Shout out to Taylor Carroll.
what were we talking about?
The heads up for rolls. And
Oh yeah, just like that was
responsible gambling.
one insane story that I'm sure the viewers will appreciate. And yeah, just honestly, like alcohol and me are just like that's my kryptonite. Everybody knows that in the poker community, and it's funny because it's one of those things where obviously on the stream I'm like on my best behavior, so to speak. Especially when I'm playing against guys that I know that are like 100% gunning for me and like trying to win maximum whatever. Like I'm just like gonna be in a state where, hey, let's go, like LFG, But in other environments where I'm a little off guard and other people are drinking, having fun, like it's there's another side of me, that I'm willing to let my guard off a little bit and have
Cheers
some
to
fun,
drinking.
Cheers to drinking. But
when I don't drink very often now, but then when I do, and like start pounding stuff, people are like, "Holy cow!" I'm like, "You act like I never did this before."
right,
Back
right,
when me and Rio were at UCSD, we would go to her place. Like, oh, just kidding. We would do homework. We'd be in bed by 10:30 p.m. in church every Sunday. No, we would go to her place and we would just get plastered and we had a good time and just we were doing well at poker and yeah,
right,
LFG.
yeah. LFG.
But yeah, and then during like 07 through 09, like I had a place in Santa Monica right next to the beach. I was in a nice building. I don't know if you remember Green Dragon on PokerStars.
It sounds familiar, but
It's Karen. It was a girl. Like she was a bum hunter heads up.
Okay.
I'm throwing her under the bus now. She was in the Super Baller building, but like while guys often just like battle and butt heads and play high
Yeah.
stakes, she just sits there and like, oh, somebody sat down. oh, you raised on the button. You're too good for me. Sit out.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, I know.
But
I
I
know
mean, she makes money. Like, what are you gonna do?
right. She's picking her spot, as they say. Right?
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing is like that's how you make money, and really, you learn your lesson the hard way, not to keep battling. I mean, maybe what she's doing is excessive, and it's a past era that probably won't come back anymore.
Right.
But like, it's just like playing games where you win. I mean, that's the moral of the story.
Right. For sure. Oh, wait. I gotta take this call real quick. Hold on one sec.
How you guys liking the podcast? Woo, 97-4. Patrick Curran, yeah, right near the beach. I would grind 6.5 days a week on full tilt, and then just like go downstairs, get some exercise, walk on the beach, and stuff. And Karen was a building away, and then we met at Commerce a couple years later. She's like, "You want to play Heads Up? You want to play Heads Up?" I'm like, "Sure." She's like, "Wait, who are you? Who are you online?" she's got a kid now, married to Tyler. Shout out to him. Snapadilla says, "Great podcast." I'm like, "Thank you." What about my podcast with Patrick Curran? Did you guys watch that one? That one was cray cray. Patrick Curran has a tournament career from Vegas. You're gonna have to watch that one if you want the full story. Jeff G says, "Best pod ever." Shout out to Brian Arakaki, who came by specifically today because I was like, "Brian, I can't have any technical difficulties today. It's Andy's coming in." And then Brian was here working while I was propping, make sure everything's so fresh, so clean. So shout out to Brian Arakaki. Him and Patrick Kern are grinding it all the time. I'm not always there commentating. I am doing the scheduling now, which, guys, is very, very stressful. And JJ knows, Ryan knows. It's brutal. Even Bart Hansen says the worst job is scheduling. Nicole used to do it. Oh man. What's up, Metal Doctor? Markless Howell was one. I don't know. He's definitely older than us. But it was brutal. Like, there's certain things like in life that are just like bad that I wouldn't even want to wish on my worst enemies, so to say. Just like, yeah, life's short. Be responsible. Be a house player. You get health insurance. By the time you guys hit 40, health insurance is like, psh. Yeah, Andy. SS the G's. Andy seems pretty cool. A lot of these young players have the personality of urinal kick GTO droids. I think people are too harsh on the younger generation. They're just trying to do what they can. Like when they hit 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, everybody just changes. Like when you're younger, you're trying to develop your own skills. You're trying to find your own identity, get your own chops. When you're an adult, there's nothing cooler than being responsible. Like, you get thrashed when you're younger, go to parties, that's fine, but when you get older, you're like, you got to be the guy taking care of the guy getting thrashed. Or we got a lot of shout outs. They said best podcast ever. We got 116 thumbs up. I didn't even say smash that like button.
I know.
I didn't even guys, smash that like button. I got Andy out here. You thought he couldn't talk, he really doesn't. I made him talk. 6 thumbs down. That's dad, mom, your dad and mom,
all those,
your brother,
the family, yeah,
the fam.
Yep. The ones that said, you know what?
But I want to say something because it's like, hold on. So like, we do like a lot of different things. Like poker's just like one thing that we do, and our parents' generation thinks it's like that's all we do, which is just like that's like where they're kind of closed-minded about some stuff. It's like I don't know. It's rough. Like we try to explain it. It's like this is just one aspect that we do. Somebody like Kitty Quo, who has a master's in electrical engineering from USC, like the Asian community will be like, "Oh my gosh, you have a master's in engineering from USC," or like me, I went to UCSD and I could have probably
She has a
gotten
master's?
Yeah.
What was I thinking? I'd love this genius.
we're gonna get into that. But like it's so crazy because like she's a very accomplished tournament player and poker player, and the world sees us as our best skill sets in comparison to the world. And whereas like a degree is like, yeah, USC is a good school, UCSD is a good school, but it's just like it's it's very common.
Right, for sure.
So that's kind of the generational communication that kind of sucks. That no matter how hard we try, it's just like it's just one of our many interests.
Right.
But,
I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying, "What's your biggest downswing?" and things like that. Honestly, like I don't want to name specific numbers, but let's put it this way. It's real. The downswing is real. Like, you'll go through stretches where you literally cannot win a hand, and you just think you're the worst. Like you feel like everything you learned up to this point is just hogwash, and you're just terrible at the game. And the most important thing is that you got to just stay on track and just be like, hey, brush the dirt off and just get up and just be like, hey,
that
you guys,
dirt off your shoulder.
exactly. There's let's just say like we can put in the 7 figures. Where the downswing. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's situations like where just nothing's going right, and you're just getting pounded, and just day after day after day, you're just like getting in it. Like it's just, situations where like you get aces. Your opponent has kings. The king comes, and then
Boom.
literally an orbit later, you get the kings, and you win the aces, and these aces hold. Like this is one of those days where, like, it just feels like you're being punished. But at the end of the day, like the cards have no memory of like the world's not after you. Like whatever, like angry,
happen.
like mad at the world feeling you want to get at these. Like it literally nobody cares. Like you're just gonna have to work through it. And a lot of people tell me like is that. Do you recommend, going pro? Well, I'm saying what I like to tell you guys is like, if you have that trait in you, if you have that factor where you're able to withstand that and be able to accept that part of the game, then yeah, by all means, like if you love the game and have the passion for it, go for it. But if you are going to be one of those guys where you're going to be entitled and you're playing a game where 9 other guys on the table are trying to win, 8 other guys are trying to win equally, and they all have the equal right to win.
Yeah.
There's no reason why like you should be dealt a winning hand.
Right.
And so if you just change your perspective a little bit and understand that you're playing a card game where everybody's focusing on winning the game with their 2 cards, then some of that entitlement fades away, and maybe you can accept a little reality, and just when you get dealt a loser, you just gotta accept it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really brutal thing, especially in this era. I tell people it's definitely possible. I know these young kids coming up, but it's definitely a different era. It's much tougher now. The upside is far less. I don't know how much it could scale, but life choices, man.
No, for sure, for sure. And like, I don't even want to say that like, whereas like painting myself in a light where I'm immune to all this, because I'm actually like a huge. I'm like the worst, like. You guys that watch Live at the Bike think that like I'm this robot, whatever. Like that's just like completely immune to
cyborg.
like completely immune to like all the tilt, all the frustration. But to be honest, like it's all in here. Like like I don't show it maybe as much as other players, but it's very frustrating. And at the end of the day, like I try to remind myself these things, and for everybody watching out there, that's kind of what I would like to just let you guys know. Like, hey, like. We're all human, and it's a game where variance plays a huge part of it, and you're gonna do a lot of things right.
No matter how good you are, the cards will screw you.
Right.
Like for a very long period,
right.
It can.
And I have huge tilt issues that I still currently to this day, am trying to fix, and it's an ongoing process.
Yeah,
it really is.
Did I complain to you about my day shift run? I literally had the worst run of cards. I was dealt loser like 85, 90, 95% of hands.
Mm-hmm.
If it happened at any other time in my life, I'm screwed.
Right.
But
For
like
sure.
I'm a house player and I have Live at the Bike and other stuff going on. And was like, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is real.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky. Like I had tried to make as good decisions as I can, leading up to this point. Shout out to Brian Arakaki in the chat.
Oh,
he's like
the graphics, the camera guy, right?
Yeah, the director.
Okay, yeah, the director.
He says almost as many viewers as the Limit Hold'em episodes. Brian's got jokes. LOL. Yeah. So, you guys have any questions for Andy? Eric Peterson says Andy's a great poker player. Respect. While you were outside, I kept shouting out all the guys there. He's like, Andy's a god. Nobody ever.
I paid all those guys off. They're all out there with the 5-5. Like, hey, say something good about me in the chat.
Okay, what about the biggest pot you ever lost? That's more fair.
Everybody knows. It's
I don't know. People ask, like, I mean, I know the hands. I got
yeah.
really lucky, and some of the biggest pots I rolled. I don't remember the wins at all.
No, you can pull up the hands if you want. We can go over
Okay.
those. Like just the biggest pot obviously is you guys will see. Yeah, that is the biggest officially to date the biggest pot. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, well, let's talk over.
So this is old school Live with the Bike. Huh?
This is you were on Live with the Bike before I was. Shout out to Jeff.
You are older than me though, so don't even try to. I know I see what you're doing there, but you got a few years on me, Wayne.
Yeah, I hit 40. That's why I became a house player. Is that Barry Woods?
That is Barry Woods.
Oh my god.
The man, the myth, the
Dude,
legend.
you look gangster, man. This is like, what happened to you? It's Andy from Watching.
I got fat. Is what happened, Wayne.
I got fat. Oh, there's Bryce Yaki. Shout out to
there he
Bryce.
is, there he
And
is.
Sam. That's Sam.
Yeah.
So let's see. This is what's called lag.
Live.
Andy raises Queen 9 off.
Just clicking buttons and just using position to just F
Position
with
and
people,
aggression.
like trying to set a precedence, like hey, like I'm gonna make you try to flop a hand here,
Yeah.
like good luck to you, hanging out for 3 streets, you want to see you on the river, just clicking buttons, just absolutely just smash this flop.
Whoops! Easy game. Andy flops the nuts straight.
So what happens when you just decide to re-raise with complete trash every hand? Eventually you're gonna
Hit
cool the
something,
shit out of
yeah.
somebody,
Yep.
He just flops the open-ended, I just flop the nuts with a spade.
Yeah, you have his face covered.
Yeah, just
So brutal.
He's just what is it? 9% he has there.
He has
It
to get
says.
running trips on the board or like case 9 and then board pairs. Chops with a queen.
Shout out to the commentators too back then. Honestly, like when I started Live the Bike, like Tuckman, Nicole, like actually it's funny because when I first started, I didn't even want to play on the show.
Right. Me
They,
too.
I was so paranoid
Jeff
about
can't fold.
showing the cards.
Yeah.
And things like that, and they encouraged me. They're like, Andy, you'd love to play. Just play. Like, it's gonna be a good game. I can't turn away action. I jumped in the game, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, you get to see what everybody has. And it's different dynamic. So yeah, this is very different back there. We're out on the floor, and
Yeah, this was
He's
where
not messing around. He bets 450. Tucked
that's
at a
David
pot-sized bet.
Yeah.
This was a pot-sized bet. Andy
Probably
clearly
like it's
trying
hot.
to build a pot.
he's got a great commentator voice, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah.
I mean,
That
you do Wayne as well, but
he understands
he's got a good one.
what his betting
fine. You could
position is,
compliment David.
right?
He's also
and
been
a lot of
at it.
people now they bet, and then all of a sudden they get a
There's
big hand
Nicole,
and they
woo!
want to stop. Slow
That's
down,
Nicole.
check.
Court Mike used to do that all the time. Remember
Yeah,
early in the day?
and it's so
Court Mike, dude.
counterintuitive,
Corporation Mike.
but, I mean,
Talk
that's
about
what
another
he
legend,
knows, right?
King,
And I appreciate
Shout out
that
to him,
Andy
too.
understands it.
He's got so
We
many
miss him.
family members,
good
like
turn card
like
for Jeff.
people
Yeah.
would be like,
Good,
"Yeah,
I was
Corporation
gonna
Mike's
save him
on."
He was another guy that was doing stuff before time. Honestly,
Well, he's
thinking
still
outside the
open
box,
straight
trying to
draw,
win
he's got
hands
flush
where
draw
he's
as
not
well.
supposed to
Not a
win.
great flush draw.
Just pulling every trick out of the bag and just
If
throwing
Andy
it
had
at
a
you.
king, it'd be,
See what you're gonna do. But
That ace could not have helped you.
yeah.
And instead, Jeff looks like he's going to lead out here.
Yeah, I remember honestly in this
Obviously
hand,
not
like
gonna go
I was just
anywhere.
thinking, like, what a dream!
Straight
Like
and
this guy is just
spades in
like,
his hand.
I know he's not have a flush here,
Jeff
Like I just
has a
knew
check
like the
call,
dynamic
lead
between
out
me and
play.
him. Like he's just either bluffing or
Looks
he
like
has
he
some
bet
kind of
about
draw, like
700
some,
into
you know.
13.
It was just
Look at you. You're just like, oh yeah, dude. You're so in your thug phase.
like put your money in, buddy.
Hey,
Barry
Rob
Woods is
Brown,
just like,
what's
when's the
going
next
on, man?
hand? I'm bored
Yeah.
of this shit. Hurry up already.
Shout out to Barry Woods and my PokerCraft with him. He was a really funny guy.
Of course, like it's the purest river.
the river.
I don't even want the river. I just know it's pure. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, pair's a
Well, the
board,
board's
but
paired, there's spades
he's
out
never
there,
leaning out
Jeff's
on the
hand
turn with a
looking
set
worse
or
and
a two
worse.
pair. So it's just like it's such an easy value bet.
Easy
When you
game.
check call
you
the
know.
flop, that's one thing. Andy
Must
can have
be
a whole bunch of
nice.
hands.
Guys, this is how Andy built his
When you bet
bankroll.
$740 on a turn and Andy just calls you.
Honestly,
you
though,
gotta
Live
start
the
thinking,
Bike
okay, what
back
kind of
then,
hand does Andy
it was
have
so
here?
different than what it is now too. It's
Well,
it's
he
funny
opened
because I
pre-flop
was involved. I was
pretty
fortunate to
wide.
be
I don't think he's
involved
calling
in the
740
stages
turn,
of
nothing.
the early stages, like when like this stage, and then when
Yeah, there's
obviously
not
it changed a little bit.
that,
Moved to high six
call
room.
that
Mine
bet.
was
I mean,
involved, and
let's say
we
you
hyped
just
it
call
up,
the
and we
king
had some
or
big
queen of
names
spades,
on, and
what's
it's just
what's-
changed so much.
What's the
But
kicker?
And now you're
yeah,
the big
exactly.
name.
It hits all over that board. So Jeff's in trouble.
It's not a
I mean,
joke,
he can
Andy.
beat, like, checks.
He can beat like
People don't
king
even know
nine
that,
with the
like,
king of spades.
The Sean Snyder
You have two
podcast.
nines
That's
in
going to
your
be
hand,
a
so that's
thing.
pretty
in the
unlikely
future.
as well.
What are you thinking here? What are you thinking? He checks.
He checks. I'm just
you know what I
thinking
mean?
how much
Can
is
you
he
get?
gonna call?
Like,
Like
almost like
honestly,
you're
I
King
I'm not even sure the range to put him on
X.
at this point. It's just a weird line
Like,
where
and the
he's
king
just
is the spades, like
calling the
king
flop
six,
and then all of a
random
sudden
hands.
leading into me on the turn. I don't know. Like
know,
I
not a
didn't.
big
I wasn't
fan of, like,
too
making
familiar
zero
with
calls when
this
I
player. I
went
don't
to
think
the
I
hand
ever
that would
played
be
with him
Andy
before the
bets,
show, but
You don't know Jeff?
1200.
It's Jeff.
yeah.
Andy
But at the same time, I don't think he
Shout out
was.
to Josh Marciello.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Jeff
Shout out
picked
to
it
him,
up.
man.
And it was just
then
unfortunate for
he
Jeff.
has
did
promised.
just
He
get
has
stuck in a
promised
hole that he didn't really
the show he's
100%
coming
want
back.
to
I
be in.
know his.
I talked to him like a
Yeah,
month ago.
Tried to buy
I
his
have
way
faith
out
that
of
he's
it,
coming back,
didn't.
and you know,
Andy flopped.
Barry
and,
Woods
we look
came
forward
back.
to it. Yeah.
All right, next
Playing
hand.
Andy
Sure.
flopped.
Oh, shout out to Cyrus Namani. Oh, there's Joel with the
Yeah.
the beanie.
Yeah.
See, these guys are all OGs. By the way, we had noodles the other day, and just like somebody sits next to Andy, and we're like, "What the?" And it turned out
Yeah,
to be
we-
Cyrus and his wife.
It was really crazy. We were randomly having lunch, and then all of a sudden, some guy sits down next to us, and like it
Starts
took me a
chatting.
second, and it turns out to be Cyrus
Playing 5, 10,
with
20
his
under the
wife,
gun.
like
Jim
randomly
makes
in
it
the
65
area.
right
But like
behind
me
him,
and Andy
makes
live
it
on the
200
east
right
side, and
behind
Cyrus
him.
lives like on the
Cyrus
west
calls.
side.
Yeah,
So it's like
small world.
Yeah.
But
And Jim raises with red eights. Andy
Cyrus.
3 bets.
complete spewed. You know,
You thought you were playing baccarat, right?
yeah. Honestly, it's just like I don't even know what I was thinking here. It was just like one of the situations where like, hey, like f you, like I'm just gonna take a garbage hand and just like outplay you or just
Oh,
like
it
make a
was
hand,
Cyrus
you
that
know?
did it.
Like,
Okay, well,
That's a lag. That's a lag growth.
yeah. And plus, like there's just nobody on the
I
table
heard
that's like
200,
you know
I thought it
getting out
was
of line.
Andy, it
Like
wasn't.
it's just fun to get out of line in spots where
It was
nobody's
Cyrus that
challenging you.
hit 200.
Except Cyrus picks up 2 chicks at the same time.
But Andy is going to call.
But you flopped
Yeah,
a double
and they
gutter.
both
Yeah.
Flop a gutter. Jim has
Yeah.
a gutter with a pair. Cyrus has over pair.
Yeah, this- I
Jim
remember this session was a
is
fun
probably
one.
going to come along here.
We got Bear Jew back in the
Andy, I can't
mix
see
back then. Shout out to Bear Jew.
Oh, and does Andy have
Honestly,
a double
like
gutter?
just
Andy
the
has a double
dynamic
gutter,
was
so
just a lot
Andy's
different
coming
back then.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a much
Andy
more
won.
home game environment where
This is the type of
you know, like
song
we were
Andy
drinking and you know, it's just you know, everybody's just
Mr.
playing
Clean.
loose ranges and trying to outplay each other and just take each other's money. It was not a cutthroat, you know, situation where they were trying to play optimal, make
Yeah.
perfect decisions, you know. Like, and I can get away with playing hands like 6-3 diamonds and trying to outplay someone and show them the bluff, you know. Like, I
Got
think
the backdoor diamond draw too.
yeah,
Got to count everything.
pretty sure I try to, you know, make a play on this dude right here and fail miserably.
This wild thing.
Yeah.
Check your raise. Hey, got a double gutter. You can hit running 3s. You can hit running 6s. You can hit running 6-3, running diamonds. You can hit 8 or 4.
Just
So many
enjoy
outs.
this guy just putting him in this zone, where just putting him in the spot where he just like hates his life, you know, which Cyrus does. You know,
Yeah,
but
it's,
like, I
it's
call.
triple coordinated.
You know, he hates his life right now, but he's like, I'm not folding to you.
Right. He knows his man.
Gives me the look too. See that right there? He's like, yeah, see you on the river, boy. The 7 pairs, I'm just like, all right, this hand's over. Like, if he has a pair, he's hanging on. You know, like when I could have 7-8, 7-6. You know.
This is where Andy comes with this speech. My 9 and 5 got counterfeited.
Yeah, but honestly, like it's player dynamics too. Yeah, I know your player, like, and I knew Cyrus at this point. Like, he's just, is that one of those things where he's just like, I'll see you on the river. You know, I'll see you at showdown.
Yeah.
You know, you want to pile in, be my guest. You know. I gave up. Pretty sure I gave up. Yep, he gave up.
Come on,
I don't wanna
outplay
give
him
up.
this hand right now. Didn't you watch Rounders? Come on. See, you're a Rounders fan.
He's giving up on it. He's not going to make a play here.
How do you give it up?
I'm like, all right, that's 1,400 here. I'm like, he's got 3.4 to stack. I'm like, thinking, shove? Is it gonna work? Should I ever shove here?
You can make him fold.
Can I represent the 7-8? Can I represent the 5-5? Is he even gonna believe me?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's just eyeballing me. You know, like I'm just like, I can feel his eyes on me. I'm like, this is not gonna work. Like, let's go next hand. You know, it's like. But it's funny because these are the elements of the game that I love. It's like it's just like it's not there when you're playing online. You know, like to me, like online is like a video game where you're just clicking buttons. Like you're playing GTO ranges. Like you know, you're playing standard spots where you do what you're supposed to do in standard situations.
Oh, you
know?
hated that fold. You're like,
I was so pained to fold there, but
sometimes you got to.
yeah, sometimes you gotta let the fish have some. You know, Cyrus, you know, you gotta let them, you know,
Bang,
have
bang.
some victories. You know.
So
And
the
you know,
next
a little bit,
hand, this is really funny. This is Doug Polk week, and I was actually in this.
This was the episode. This is the famous episode where Doug and Alec had that rivalry where
Yeah.
where where Alec Hero calls Doug down with like
Jacks.
like fourth pair, third pair. Yeah,
Yeah, Jacks. And, it
it's
was
funny
like ace
because
high
I
board.
feel like every session there's like a story to be told, and I think that this hand here that you're gonna feature leads up to that hand because I think the hand takes place a little bit after, and I think that you know, just the combined like defeats, you know, led maybe Doug to maybe go a little bit out of line here and you know, overextend, and I think Alec picked up on that maybe and just was able to call a bit lighter. I just think that if Doug was crushing this session, there's a chance that, you know, things might have been different and maybe he wouldn't have found that fold. But you know when the player's losing, it's just you
Yeah,
know.
I'm just looking at you. It went from Wong Me Home to like Thug to like you're like trying to get your life together.
Trying to find my identity.
Yeah.
But I remember this hand. This is very interesting because this is the first time I was playing with Doug, and I think this was his first Live the Bike show where he came
Yeah,
on.
it was. Yeah.
And you know, he was just super awkward. Like he was whatever. Like I was in the big blind. He was in the straddle. He raises it. I
You
call.
limp, he raise, you call.
Right.
Yeah. And then you get there
Right.
and you check, and then Doug checks, and then turn. You really get there.
That's a dirty ball. Andy has a pair. Doug has a pair.
So you check.
A
Ooh,
double check.
Vegas and the freaking Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nasty
And of course, you can't blame Doug for betting.
Steps right into it.
Yeah.
Like yeah, put some money in there, Dougie.
Doug, don't splash the pot.
What sizing is this guy gonna call?
Go
Let's settle
550.
on, let's see. What do I do here?
You check and raise, which is permitted the bicycle hotel and casino. That's a
It's a little bit
lot
rude.
of chips.
It's a little bit rude, but hey, you know what?
Yeah. Why you gotta be so rude? That's a lot of chips. That's like 4.5x. It looks like,
Yeah.
or 4x.
Try to make my hand look like the draw.
And there are a lot of draws. So.
Yeah.
And you're just like, Doug, please have ace king. Please have ace king.
What's funny about this hand is that I remember like just like yeah, if I'm not yeah, like so somebody you guys will see, but Doug actually ends up flipping a coin. Like it's the funniest thing.
Spoilers. There's shout out to Kane Callis. Shout out to Austin.
He'd be folding quite a bit if he folded King Jack. Might be
Hole. Except with the losing hand.
Yep.
River Jack.
Fold the turn here. Don't be
River
folding
Jack.
Just don't put a diamond.
You are behind a lot of the time.
River Jack.
Just put a
Can't just
blank.
river a jack. You can river a king. In this case, the king
That's not a jack.
I'll take that river.
Tens full of kings, Andy.
I don't think Doug hates this river.
Just go all in. Just put him. Just 2x the pot. Put him in the spot. You know, represent the misdraw, whatever. It's just let's just torture this guy. You know, I mean, he has quite the resume, so I mean, he can figure it out, right? Let's see what he does.
His king X hands. He's gonna show down here.
Let's turn up the volume.
Ace 7 suited. That's part of it because
It's the best when you just make a bet and you just.
He
just
beats
watch
all
that
the
squirm
busted draws.
just
He
fidget in
beats
his seat.
counterfeited two pair.
It's just you
I'm a
know.
little worried that Miami just fight station.
He's like, just kidding, Andy.
wondering-
Calls. I got kings.
Let's see, what is this exactly?
Doug Polk is trying to put together combos in his head of hands that he can play and he can beat.
I mean, there's
And trying to
quite a
think of his
few.
full range.
There's quite a few draws here that brick
Oh,
out on
there's
this.
you.
It's a super draw heavy board.
So, you want to explain to the audience what goes on here?
I mean, I made the full
the real
house.
question in this
You know,
spot from a
I mean, I
GTO
put all the money in.
perspective is
No, I
what's
mean,
the
yeah.
worst
I mean,
hand
what
that Doug
what's gonna happen with
bet
Doug?
and
Oh, so
turn
it's
with
it's
that
the
can be
funniest
bluffed.
thing because
And King
he
X
literally
is
can't
probably
make
it.
a
So the real question is,
game
how many
3
of his
optimal
kings
decision.
does he
You
want to
know,
fold?
like how
I
he
also
broadcasts
think
on all
by
his
Doug
videos.
having
So
a jack in his hand,
he decides,
it puts
you know,
less
he just,
queen
honestly he
jack
doesn't know what to
in
do.
his range.
He's basically saying it's 50-50.
So
So he
beats less
takes,
bluffs that
he
way
asks
as well.
somebody
So
for a
having
coin
a jack in
because
Doug's
he
hand
can't
is
make a
not
decision.
the best.
It even
You know,
blocks the
and he
jack
doesn't want to
nines,
waste
too.
anybody's
Yeah.
time. He's like, I'm
And the
literally
ace jacks,
50-50.
the ace jack of diamonds, ace jack of clubs.
Pretty sure Kane flips him a coin. So it's literally because he's got 9,725. So it's basically a 10K
This is a
flip.
pretty sick spot for
Yeah, I'm
Doug
pretty sure that's
Polk.
what he does.
Most of
And,
the most of the
Don't
best
bend the
players in the
cards,
world.
man.
And I
Those decks
think
are
what Doug is doing right now,
$200.
he's going through the combinations of hands that he beats, that he thinks his opponent could play this way,
versus the combinations of hands that he loses to.
Honestly,
And
I'll
then
just
thinking
be right
about
now. I'll
where
be
he's
straight
at
right
in
now.
his
I
own
hit all this
distribution,
table talk that whatever the
and
commentator's
how
saying.
many of his king
The
X's he wants to
combinations,
fold.
like, you know what? It's like, does he have it or not? You know what I mean? Like,
It's binary.
Yeah.
think about your combinations. Think about where are you on your range. Like, I can't stand poker talk that you're just like talking like this nerdy, like whatever. Just does he have it or not? You know, to me, it's still a gut feeling game. Like, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm old school,
Such a
and
sick spot.
you know, shout out to all those old school guys. Like, I play poker in a fashion where I don't. I'm not. I mean, I'm looking at these things obviously. You know, they're in consideration, but I'm not putting that much weight on it. You know what I mean? Like, if I have King Deuce, I'm not
Nobody's
thinking I'm
rushing
blocking
to take
kings. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Like,
When you have King Deuce.
I'm not. That's not going through my head. Like, I'm blocking 2 kings because I have King Deuce. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like, I want to gamble.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna outplay you.
Shout out to Cyrus Damani in the chat.
But anyway, so Doug's just squirming here, and he just hates his life, and I'm loving it.
Check here.
I'm like,
in
just
terms of
call,
check
you know,
that
please,
raise.
just hit a call.
So sick, Matt.
He's just had some nasty spots today.
It is nasty.
Yeah, these are the spots where you really can flip a coin. Look for the live reads, try to get the information.
He literally says you can flip a coin. I
Wasn't
think
Ryan
Doug
feeding this
Holt.
game?
I think Doug must have heard it because
I think this hand
he goes,
is a different side.
"Oh, does anyone have a
Austin
coin?
gave him a coin.
Does anyone have a coin?
Oh, no,
Flip a
Austin.
coin here.
So, let's go.
Oh, Kane gave
I
him
feel,
Okay.
I feel like this hand is right
Doesn't
in
he
the
wish it
middle,
was a
so
Bitcoin?
I'm cool with either result. Let's go heads, I call.
Heads you call?
All right.
This is good for TV, though. I mean,
This is funny."
Okay.
it's going to go down the drop.
Oh, tails.
He folds.
Yeah,
and
he
you're
folds.
just-
It lands
how he
tails,
did it,
and
Matt?
it's just a
And
10K
he
flip
just
for me.
went
You know,
like
like
a
watching.
like
I'm just still tilted. I'm like,
$8,000.
how do you like who flipped the coin? Like Doug, like, you're terrible. Go heads. You know, you just cost me 10K.
Okay, so now we're warming up.
All right.
This is the infamous Martin and Andy hand. So Bill's going a little lag. Queen 6 of diamonds. And Johnson, shout out to Johnson, who's going to be playing this Friday in the $1 million cash game. He calls in small blind, 9-8 off. Martin with King 6 of spades. And look at how much he has the best hand. He just like knows, dude. He just like 3-bets. What are you doing in there? You have squat. Actually, you know what's going on. You have the highest chance to win pre-flop.
Yeah, it was interesting because up to this point, Martin was the GOAT. You know, he outplayed G-Man and was just outplaying everybody. You know, he was fresh off a tournament win and was literally playing tournament style, just, you know, just destroying everybody. And I was like, you know what, let me make a stand here. Let me just, you know, put this guy in place, you know.
Let's outplay him this hand right now.
Let me just take the jack napkin and just, you know, use my position, stick it to him.
Hate to burst your bubble, but a 10 isn't chapped down.
All right, yeah, that's a good hand. That's a good hand. But you know what? Yeah, against Martin's the nuts in this spot, right? So
You did him a favor. You kicked out everybody. Now you
try to
have
let him know.
lower equity than
right, try to let him know, like, yo, I got a premium.
you
But,
do. Suited. Hashtag suited.
Probably 5-betting, but if not,
This hand's really long, by the way. So if you want to, like,
possibly fold.
you know, I remember he just like decides forever on the river, and I'm just sweating it.
Oh,
But,
we're gonna let the audience. Some
all right,
people in the audience haven't seen.
all right,
It's
all
like
right, all right.
156 thumbs up. Shout out. By the way, the commentator. This is the best commentator. Have you heard this guy? We'll just let this one rip. Martin's gonna call. Look at you. You're in another phase right now.
This is an interesting situation.
Very.
I knew that Martin was very sticky on the flop, and he might even try to reverse float to represent the ace. I didn't want to give him that chance to do anything where the pot was going to be bloated, where I just literally had no equity.
And
Honestly,
he's
I hated my life here. I was like, okay, so I know Martin's sticky. You know, like he's going to represent, he has the ace, you know? And let's see what the turn brings, you know?
yeah.
All right, now we got something to work with, you know? Now I got 9%, you know? Now we got something to work with, you know? He checks again. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to try to win this pot at some point, right?
Yeah, at some point.
Let's put some money in.
Or see 5 cards and get there.
No, I'm not gonna go to the bathroom. I'm not gonna.
Let's put a big bet in. Let's see what he does. Right?
Interesting.
Put in the-
11,000 looks like.
Put in 11,000. See what he does. Right? See what happens. I'll call you, buddy.
Oh wow, that's
Show me.
not even a consideration.
No, I know.
You didn't even put him in a tough spot. He's like, how much is that? Oh, I was gonna call for way more than that.
Puts in the money. I'm hitting life. I'm like, what's the turn? River. All right, Jack. I'm like, yeah, it's probably no good. He's got sticky with a king, or he's got like ace little. You know. checks. I'm like, I have to make a big bet here. Trying to calculate pot odds. What is the pot size?
Pot size.
I'm like, At the same time, I just feel this guy's eyes on me. You know, I honestly, I'm just like, he's basically saying it's a game of chicken at this
really
point. You know,
weird.
which is what I love about poker, is that it's
my
me and against
40?
him on the river,
Oh,
and
20,
he's basically saying I dare you.
40, yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay,
I dare.
Yeah, right? Who's gonna blink, right? Like,
Right. And you have a
rapid
meme
set
with
of
this,
aces.
yeah.
Basically, yeah,
Someone
Bill,
actually
it's you bet.
made fun of me and sent me this, and I decided to make a meme out of it, which is really funny. But just the way Martin stares at me on this river, he literally gets up from his seat and was like starts doing these weird exercises, and then looks at me, trying to get a read, and the entire time I'm just like,
Buckingham Palace.
fold your hand, fold your fucking king bullshit hand, you know, like I have all the strong hands here, you know, like.
Right.
um,
Like Jack 10.
Yeah, honestly, this is a fun
not
moment
gonna lie,
for me.
I'm
Like
agreeing.
because the rush,
For the audience.
it brings me back to the moment when I told you about the nut flush hand, where like just relative to what the money kind of had, just putting in the middle and seeing what happens
Yeah.
and hoping for the best,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that's the beauty of poker.
Whoever the awesome commentator was, just like, man, I'm really rooting for Andy. And he's gonna stare at you. You can't even make this up. Like, if this wasn't a Hollywood movie, they'd be
Right.
like, this seems so fake.
Right. I mean, I understand the situation too, because the spot where he gut wise, like he just feels like, you know, that's the thing about live poker. Like you get certain reads and feels
Hashtag
and
live read, right?
just just general like just feeling, right? Like he just thinks that I'm bluffing. I mean, the guy's thinking about calling me with, you know,
With
just
King
middle
Napkin.
pair with just like no kicker, like when I could just have all the strong hands, right? And he just, but at the same time, like props, you know, because
Right,
I'm
he's
sure.
expected.
Yeah, I mean, he won this massive tournament. Just, you know, it wasn't completely based off luck. You know, like he had to make some good reads and good folds.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you gotta
Definitely.
get lucky like that. You know, right decisions there. In this spot, I think
And
I
sometimes
just,
get there.
I think I bet the right amount. You know, I think I got lucky in the sense that if 25 to 30, you know, I think
It's just like the
35,
Dervish
you know, I think
Ivy.
he just hit that point where he's just like, I'm not calling this. you
I
know?
only have one piece of advice for you this hand is after the bluff goes through, you have to like rub your eye and be like, oh, there's something in the lake.
Alluding to the Dwan and the Dwan
Yeah, the
Ivy,
Dwan
Ivy bluff, right? Which
Yeah.
is on one of my favorite hands, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, which is what
Because
I
the
was
thing
thinking.
is,
in the
Martin
hand.
said the same thing. He was like,
Right.
dude, like you guys wouldn't believe what I have.
Yeah,
And
like
so
I'm
you're
not
calling
wasting
me.
time. I'm thinking about calling. No, and
Yeah.
I felt, and I know, and I knew he was
Yeah,
like,
we all knew he was like he was
Like-
really considering.
yeah, it was just one of those hands
Yeah, you
where
can't get a read
honestly,
from
like trying to sit as still as possible and just and calm as possible. But
Well, you definitely stood still.
Anybody
Bluff
that's
gets
sit
through,
through
he
a
needs to be
big
like,
bluff,
oh,
you know, knows the feeling.
These lights are too bright. I can't sleep.
He should start tickling you or
I
something.
just want Andy to bluff and show it once.
Shout out to the Taylor cameo. We gotta let the audience.
I gotta
got
step
it.
out real quick, Wayne. Real quick, hold on. You can play the hand. I'll be right back.
Has he stay this calm?
10 seconds.
Uh-oh, Bach. Heartbeat. Beat, beat.
Andy's machine. Yeah, he's the broadest.
Good job, Andy.
so close to
Wow. Greatest of all time. Chat's going nuts.
The smile from Andy there.
Yeah. And he showed it.
Yes.
He did not. He did. He did.
That is the first time Andy showed, I think,
Really?
right? Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen Andy show before.
Open it to
Yeah, napkin. We're going to wait for Andy to come back for his hand with Jackie. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this one. Shout out to Patrick Curran, Brian Arakaki, Eric Peterson, Nick from Yuma, SS the G, CW, Ian saying, Andy speaks English, yes. J Fingers, what's going on? This is a preview of the Andy vs. Jackie hand. We're waiting for Andy to come back. Shout out to Taylor Carroll for buying us a couple beers. Also, preview for the $1 million cash game this Friday is going to have Garrett Adelstein, John Sin, Byron Rem, and Daniel Lee minimum. Andy's most likely going to be there. But we're going to wait and decide the final lineup. So Andy's back, and this is the moment you guys have all been waiting for. The Jackie hand.
1,300.
And you're in the cutoff. You're raising it up. Garrett on the button. Ace King of clubs.
Once again,
You can find him with no clubs. 3 bets. And Jackie with 2 nines in the small blinds.
And Jackie is in the middle again with 9s. I feel like this is the third time he's been in this spot here tonight, facing a raise and a 3-bet by Garrett.
And he
versus
flats
Andy.
out of the big blind. Johnson is a straddle. This is a weird spot for Jackie, too. Like, you're out of position. Does call Johnson
Well, he makes the call.
with a monster laydown, 10-5 of clubs.
Let's see how deep these guys are.
It's a bad call right here, but let's gamble. You know, Garrett's on the button.
It's only a bad call.
He's abusing me all night. Jackie, you know, let's put him on a pair here. Maybe his queen, whatever. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Let's try to flop the big hand. Let's see what happens.
Well, you flopped it. Top pair.
Flopped it.
9,
Not letting go. Let's see you to the river.
7 9s for Jackie. Andy with
So
top
check to
pair.
Garrett, who doesn't even flop a third club.
If anything, a queen would be a disaster card for Andy.
Boom.
Oh, the turn's a queen.
Let's go.
Whoa, you're feeling good.
3 queens here for Andy and a full house for Jackie.
I love Bart's commentary as well. He's just so.
He's good,
He's
yeah.
a good storyteller. You know, just
Yeah.
when the 9 comes, oh my God, the 9! Like it's just
Like he's never seen it before.
Just dramatizes it. You know, like thanks, Bart.
Yeah.
You know, like
Jackie's gonna bet.
just piling money there with
8.
3 queens, just
Andy's gonna
representing the
raise.
absolute nuts.
Andy is gonna raise here
I just remember being in this position and just
with 3 queens.
realizing like it's just crazy because I have actually so much history with Jackie. It's when I first met Jackie, it was actually years ago at the Commerce, and this guy was betting 30,000 a hand on baccarat. You know, he'd come in with racks, come from the other side, sit down in poker, take a break, come back, and just have more racks. And you know, this
That's that China money.
yeah, this is Macau money. You know,
Macau
Macau
money.
Jackie, as they call him. You know, this guy's an absolute boss. He comes in the game. You know, and just you know, we have so much history where he just wants to outplay people and
This hand.
show them. You know, and you gotta understand, like in Macau and China, you know, a lot of it is just who has more money, who has the guts. You know, like it's not about if the line makes sense. A lot of times, like people will just put in, these guys will just put in a lot of money and say, hey, my line doesn't make sense. I'm not representing anything, but let's see if you have the guts to put the money in, buddy. You know, and this is one of the spots where I out-leveled myself because
5,000.
I felt like a raise on the turn probably represents more bluffs, you know, whereas a call in his mind is going to look like very strong.
Yeah.
So I end up raising the turn and putting myself in a situation which is suicidal.
Yeah.
You know, he puts in the re-raise. I'm like, I got 3 queens, I'm not folding, you know. And then
he could hit a 10.
yeah, it's just one of these spots where it's honestly, it's just, it was player dependent, you know. Like if I was playing against even a player like, you know, G-Man or, you know, Johnson in the picture there, where it's just, there's not as much history in these spots where we're trying to outplay each other. The hand would have played out much differently, you know. So this is funny to watch.
And the rivers.
Just puts the death card. There it is.
9.
The river's a 9.
Wow.
Yeah, Bart.
Bart's
River's a
awesome,
9.
dude. He's like probably seen this scenario like 1,000 times in a day playing online.
River's a 9.
No.
End here.
definitely seen
Unbelievable.
this scenario before. He's like,
Are you kidding me?
I have never seen this before. Are you kidding me? That's funny.
But it's crazy because I'm actually doing the same thing. I'm like, the river's a 9. He could have 6s.
Right.
I just counterfeited his full house. Yeah, I just put in a casual 80,000,
like
75,000 in the middle.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, at this point when he goes all in, it's like the Rounders moment. I kind of knew, but at the same time, I put in so much in the, I put in half the pot.
Still possibly a
Snap
job.
call to
And you're like,
124,000.
look at you. You just don't even bat an eye at your close. You're like, how much is it? It's crazy.
Pay the man the money.
Yeah.
So
the pot count is wrong. Pot is $439,000. So you could pay for 2 kids to go to college for 4 years at Harvard. You could get a Rolls Royce.
I think I don't have kids.
You can get a Porsche.
I actually plan to have kids, but after this hand, I decided, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Back to the minors. Hey, Kanish, you got that truck?
Broke up with my girlfriend very soon after. I was like, hey, it's not going to work out.
Whoa. Too real. Too real.
In the history of live.
Yeah, so, pay the man his money.
Pay the man his money.
I mean, if we have the math right, Jackie covers Andy. Andy had 156, I believe. So just about 439,000 total in the pot.
There it is, folks.
You look okay.
The Queen 6-9, Queen 9 board where just casually throw in 200K and give the man his money.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. 419 call back. And that's
419 number. That sounds familiar. 419. What area code was that?
I have no idea. 419, this is live at the bike. PokerCraft. Who's this?
Hey, what's up? This is this is Paul. How you doing, Wayne? And Andy, what's up?
Paul?
This is I'm actually yeah, this is what's up, Andy? How's it going?
Dude, I knew I recognized the area code. Like when you said 419, I was like, is that Ohio?
I'm actually Andy's best friend. I was the one that taught him how to play.
Wow, so you ruined his
17
life.
years ago.
You were the guy. You were that guy, weren't you?
Yeah. I'm still trying to collect my cut. My temper. No, I just
could
listen. Obviously, I like I love live the bike watching and stuff, and I wanted to call in first of all just to say how's it going and what's
Thanks
up
for
to everyone.
watching,
But yeah,
You never
man.
call, you never write, and all of a sudden you call in, huh? I see how it is. All right, buddy.
Listen, man, you need
Claiming
to.
the best friend right away, huh? What kind of friend is this?
You still owe me like $40 from that 1-2 game we played. 17. No,
Damn it,
look,
Paul.
I've known Andy forever, so he's one of my best friends, and
So you're the one.
So I just wanted to make this clear because I think a lot of times, before this show, people always have Andy never talks, right, and don't really know a lot about him.
Yeah.
And so actually, I was the one that was encouraging him to just do a little bit of social media, just to put because there's like a different side to him, and it's really entertaining. I think a lot of people are seeing that, but I don't know. I think I kind of wanted to share some. I didn't want to embarrass him too much, but maybe some kind of funny story. So
let's hear it.
Okay, so let me just break it down real quick. So Moneymaker wins, right? Okay, Moneymaker wins the World Series. So I watch it, and just like everyone else in the world, we go crazy. So we're in school at this time, and so I teach Andy how to play. And so for the next 5 months. Yeah, I teach you how to play. Yep. I taught him everything.
You introduced me to the game. I don't know about you teaching. I mean, that's a little bit stretching it, buddy. I mean, Jesus.
I mean, I didn't teach you to play Queen 10.
You showed me the rules, all right,
so.
buddy? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I surpassed you pretty quick and owned your ass. I mean, let's get twisted here.
Listen, we got a running tally on that. We'll get to that. But so
you're right. We got a running tally.
We used to play for with 7 or 8 guys. We play for $5, and we'd play for like 8 hours for $40. Winner takes all. And it was ridiculous, right? And so I remember when I don't know if you talked about this, but when we used to go to the bike and like we were. Actually, I don't want to say that. So we would go to the bike and we play like the lowest limit 1-2, and we'd be like, oh my god, dude, just wait for aces, and then go all in, double up your $100 and then leave, back to those days. So, but fast forward, I remember, and I think anybody who has like a poker buddy knows this. Like you start seeing your poker buddy like less, Like, where is he? He's been gone for like 3 days, or, you don't hear from him. And so, come to find out, he, took the risk and he jumped up. And then, I don't know if you have that. Do you have that picture again of him with all those chips from back in the day?
You put it up earlier.
One more
yeah.
time. Woo!
Put that up, because I'm going to tell you something. I'll never forget just going to, I think it was Wine Gardens, yeah. It was when they had the tent up still, okay? And
the tent days,
yeah, and being like, seeing Andy, I'm like, yo, dude, where you been? And I'm just like looking in front of him, and you see that stack, right?
Yeah.
The amount of times I've seen him with that stack from then on was like, and that stack, you see, that's nothing. He's had more than that, and
we know.
He would just have this big, he would have this big smile on his face, and I'm just like, and everyone else at the table is just miserable. And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm just like felting everyone. I'm like, how long have you been here? I was like, I don't know, like a day. he's just being like completely obsessed. And so just seeing him kind of go from those, from like watching Moneymaker. Yeah, well, it's just kind of crazy, Then him coming, hey, dude, man, I played Freddie Deeb today. He raised me like $5,000 while eating a popsicle, and I'm just like, what? I'm like, what the, just like, and like, oh, I played Brad Booth today. Oh, I played Alan Cunningham was next to me today. It's crazy to see that progression, and I think it's funny you watch your show, and there's a lot of these characters, and they come and go. It's like, dude, he's like, I don't know, he's just been playing this game forever, and it's nuts to kind of see that. I don't know, that growth of just like, dude, we was like, everyone used to watch the World Series or the high stakes cash or whatever, right? The Sammy Farha, Jamie Goldhand with aces and kings, whatever. We watched all that together, talked about it, like, oh, that's crazy. And now to see him, like, get to the point where he like plays those people, it's just kind of a nutty little thing, but yeah. There's one story.
That's like the best man speech
at your
wedding
go
or
ahead.
something. Okay, go ahead.
I know, right? No, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry,
I'm
just ranting.
No, we want to hear the rant. We get to hear one Andy speak. The audience hasn't heard Andy speak. I've heard him say like 5 words before. We're running good.
So I will say this, and maybe Andy, you could do this later on your social media or something. Do you remember Jerry Yang?
Yeah.
That the guy that won the World Series.
Yeah.
The guy that he would always like praise
Christ,
Jesus.
Please let me win.
Yeah, you remember that guy?
Yeah.
So maybe one day Andy does a sick Jerry Yang impression of him betting. So maybe one day he'll show you that. But so I have a funny story. So about three years ago, so at that time we didn't get to see each other a lot. So when we did see each other, we'd like go to the casino and like play,
Bad friend.
And Andy, what was it? This was at Hollywood Park. What was was it like 10-20? I don't even know. I don't even play that
like
limit.
5-10-20 on cap game or something. Yeah.
Yeah, because I play 1-2, right? And anyway, so I remember Andy like was there first, and then I came in. People didn't know we were friends, so we're all sitting there, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's up, Andy?" Blah blah blah. Like, chummy. Andy gets up to go to the bathroom, and so everyone's watching. The second he gets away, they're all, there's like two new guys like, hey, you see that guy that just got up? Dude, just fucking stay away from him, okay?
Oh, stop, dude.
Just
stop, dude. Stop.
Just stay away from him. And then he would come, and I would just sit there and like laugh. Then he had to step away again for something, and then another guy came. He's like, yeah, remember you were asking me? Yeah, Heat-3 or whatever, stay away from him. But there was this one guy.
You're killing my action, man. You gotta tell him this guy's a donkey.
I don't. This is a funny story.
I'm I'm trying to portray.
There was this one guy though that was like, he's like, I don't know why you're talking about him like that. You ain't that good,
short,
just like that. Whatever.
I got some other call-ins.
Okay,
like you're buttering me
all right,
up
I'm
a bit
wrapping
too
this
much,
up
bro.
right now.
All right,
I'm wrapping this up just because this is
right.
funny. So this guy was pretty much just saying like he's not that good, whatever, right? So anyways, for the next I don't know 3 hours, Andy felted this guy like 3 times, and this guy was so tilted, and so he didn't know. I told him later about the story, but it was just I don't know, kind of funny. But yeah, no. The biggest thing though is that I'm glad that other people finally get to see that he's actually funny and whatever. Because being like we've known each other for 17 years, and we talk about everything poker together. So it's kind of, he comes off like this cerebral robot, and I'm always like, dude, you should like.
Andy's
you should just. I was like, you should talk, like maybe we don't have to hear like Nick clearing his throat all the time. We can hear like talk. We can hear. That's a little jab right there, but we can just hear, you talk. I don't know. So I just wanted to call in and make sure that no, he's a great guy and he's hilarious.
It, man.
So
but hey,
I'm glad that you
next
guys
time you want to
to
reach out, bro, just call me, bro. Text me. Like
I
said,
Shut up.
You don't gotta call the show and I'm glad you're watching though, man. I miss you, man.
You don't have to be shy. You could call me too.
I do miss you. Seriously.
Hey, tell them when you paid me $100 at Live at the Bike to go in and tell that one guy I was his fan.
To troll the guy. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was a funny story with Kevin.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, Kevin was having a bad
day.
day. Paul came down to visit me. That actually he came from Ohio, was into town for a week, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be playing poker, so I don't know what you're gonna be doing." He's like, "I'll play poker too." Comes out of the bike, plays 5-5, and Kevin's telling these stories about how he's just like, he wants to be a model. I don't remember what that story was, but like, I was like, this guy's losing the game. Like, just do me a favor and just like make him feel better, and just tell him that you're a big fan. So Paul comes on the show, tells Kevin like, "Hey, big fan of yours," and it just made Kevin light up. Like it wasn't meant to be like mean. Like literally, like it was like Kevin stood up and was like shook my friend's hand and it was like sincerely happy.
But imagine sitting at a table and getting a text going, "Hey, can you come in here?" And you see the white guy at seat 5. Go and tell him you're his fan. I'm like, dude, I'm a grown ass man. What are you talking about? He's like, dude, I'll give you $100. I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
He can be bought.
Yeah, but
hey,
anyway.
Paul, thanks for calling in, man.
All right, Paul. Next
All right,
time you're in
guys.
town,
Take care.
Next time you're in town, man.
we soju and stories. Soju and stories.
Oh, hey, make sure did you tell him about Jokum?
I did not, but dude, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
I'll tell him about Jokum,
Gotcha.
but Texas Jokum.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Paul.
I'll let him know,
All right.
Paul.
I'll see you guys.
All right,
All right, buddy.
All right.
Thanks for calling, man.
Take care.
All right, guys. It's gonna be it. Andy can talk. Thanks for coming in. We're probably in the Friday game, but we'll see how the lineup shapes up. So, any last words?
Oh, who's that? Taking that one off. All right.
310. Who is this?
310. Who's that?
Hey, it's Cyrus. What's up?
Oh, what's up, Cyrus?
Cyrus. Oh my God.
You're stalking us
Yes.
everywhere.
Sneaked in last minute. Oh my God. Hey,
Yeah,
dude, I
Cyrus
appreciate
Simeone,
what I
what's
said
up?
about the hand. I mean, I try to be, what the
Yeah,
heck?
you tried to be nice to you.
The 6-3 hand or the?
Yeah, the 6-3 hand.
hand, yeah.
I mean, what were you thinking, man? Just fold it.
I mean, if you were really
I have all
sorry
the
about
good
it,
hands
you
there.
wouldn't have been doing it all the fucking time when we played.
I try to give you a
Like,
shout out there.
it was
and you
just a
you
thing.
had to get stubborn with your queens or whatever you had there. Like, you can't beat anything. You're just praying to get the river to showdown. I mean, at this point, come on.
He had outs
Cyrus.
too. Sick.
Cyrus.
I was actually really lucky to how I ran against you on Live at the Bike. Like
Right.
on Live at the Bike, it was about 50-50 between you and me, but then off of the show, I just got murdered every time. Like every time. If you're sitting to my left, it was just
That's surprising.
session over.
Really, Cyrus? You just got murdered? I mean, how is that possible? I mean, the way you're playing.
No, I mean,
Come on, Cyrus. Let's be real
I
here.
cannot-
You're calling with queens on that board. You're just praying. I mean, you got one pair. You can't improve. Like it's just fold the flop. You broke my heart when you called, and I had to just like give up the turn. I mean, shout out to you though, man.
Yeah,
That's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been a while, it's good to see you grow. We had a lot of battles back then. You've been really growing lately, sideways. I mean, how do you do it? How do you do it? You managed to gain the exact amount of weight that Wayne lost. Like, I don't know what you're doing. You're just a wizard. You're a wizard.
Oh my god, this is backhanded compliments, man.
Hey.
It was good to see you the other day
Yeah,
too,
I mean,
man. Randomly at the restaurant.
Yeah, Cyrus, why are you following us? You could just call and say, "Hey, you want to hang out?" It's not like we're like you don't have to just stalk us and follow
When you come back
us.
to Live at the Bike, by the way, the fans are asking. Honestly,
came back.
you're a fan favorite. No, I know, but when you come
Oh,
back,
again.
like, we miss you.
Probably. Yeah. Probably not for a
Cyrus,
while.
Cyrus, Friday's $1 million cash game. You want to see it?
I'll put you in, Cyrus. Come on, let's go 50-50 on it, dude. I need to crush these guys. Come on.
You
These
got-
new school guys got nothing on us old school pros. They don't know what's going on.
Plus, you went to Berkeley.
Got that going for me. Can't deny that one.
Man, you guys suck. Yeah, the chat is like, they're all impressed that you can. I mean, they're all surprised that you can talk, but I'm just surprised that you need to go to the bathroom. Like I didn't know that you could do that.
I gotta
Before you would just be
reload the
sitting at
AI.
table
As they
for
call
like,
it, the robotic. This needs a real reload. Whatever they need to. Whatever. I mean, let's go from.
yeah, I mean, you would just sit at the table for 12 hours, like a sketch, like one of those performers on the street, right? Like you could put on some like face
we're on a
paint
talk show. You
and
go to
just like the
bathroom
tips.
There's technical difficulties on our end, and they need to fix whatever's going on in the back end so I can speak properly. All right, Cyrus, is that a good?
Yeah, especially in the back end.
Yeah, the back end we have some difficulties.
You're right.
Hey, Cyrus, dude, honestly,
right.
that was good seeing you the other day, man.
Seeing
Like, we'd love to have you back, dude. You're
So
due.
Andy could take
You're
your
due.
money.
So I can take some money and win some money. So we can bring it back to the old school, old school days.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right.
All right, Cyrus.
Thanks for calling in.
Yep.
Yeah. Later.
Prank call next time. All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up. Andy, guys, you can talk. Later.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.